podium for him.
4 minutes. We're too early.
Another 5 minutes.
Let's see.
5 minutes.
Huh?
You're live. You are live.
Oh, okay. You want to do it early, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you
Got 5
probably-
minutes before the
You
official
probably
start.
should, Peter. If you can't wait till 7.
Got 5 minutes until official start.
Well, then just be silent for a bit. Because I had to go live to make sure you get the signal. I can't go off.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's don't.
Watch your mouth.
Watch what we say.
How was your garden today, this year? Dry.
Oh, did you?
Dry.
Dry, yeah.
Very dry.
You didn't lug any water? Or?
Did I lug any water?
Yeah.
No. But
What do
our
you?
pond's down 5 feet.
5 feet.
Scott,
Mine's down 4.5.
looks like they may need an
The
easel.
one where your oxen
On
are?
the street.
We have something.
Right out on the street there.
Jesus, 4
Down
feet
5 feet,
down?
it's probably 50%
Yeah.
surface area loss.
What, is it enough for the oxen and what's left then?
In fact, I'm having it cleaned out right now.
I don't know.
What do they do
It's
with
just a
the?
fire pond, there's no animals.
No, I meant
Wait.
Clayton's oxen.
Yeah, they don't drink that much water. I mean, it's maintaining the water table. But the water table is 4.5 feet down from where it normally is.
4.5 feet.
4.5.
And Scott said his is down 5.
We had to drop a pump in a well down another foot.
Yeah.
In a, dug well.
Yeah,
Getting up water.
yeah. David
Not at
across-
my house, but
David across the street's worried.
yeah, he's doing good. He's still getting water.
He is very shallow.
Steve?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Oh,
No, not yet, but I don't know if you need that or
No,
not.
I'd be happy to use that. I was gonna ask you where you thought we should go, so you can all sit in.
Well, ask the cameraman, actually. Wouldn't it be better if he,
You got to grab that?
yeah, Peter, that's,
It's good to go in there.
Oh, we have one.
We have one.
That.
Well, your oxen don't get stuck in the mud going down there, do they?
No, I mean, it's gradual down.
Is it?
We've got a tank at home that we have filled for most of the summer.
Oh, and they can go to that
You can
tank?
go to that too, but they've been drinking the water out of their pond and they have the tank.
I don't know what Leon does with his oxen. Do you know how he waters his or?
He has a bucket.
He has a tank that he fills from the house.
Oh, okay. Well, this has been tough, not only humans, but animals. And you're down to what, 3 oxen now?
Yeah, and then a cow. And then a cow.
They drink about 10 gallons a day apiece.
10 gallons. God, I never guessed that.
that's a lazy one.
The lazy ones drink 10.
Yeah, there's not much in there. A couple sticks here. I was thinking of rebuilding the culvert.
What time is it?
See, I just cleaned mine out. and then I let it in.
1 minute?
Yeah, they stayed, and we have another chair in front of you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna dig it out.
I'll get another one. Oh, were you gonna sit down? I was gonna get another one. He's kind of heavy work.
All right, being the hour of 7 o'clock, I'd like to open the Board of Selectmen meeting for New Durham. This is Wednesday, October 12th, 2016. It is now 7 o'clock, and we're at the New Durham Town Hall. So the first order of business is we have...
Should we introduce ourselves?
Oh, thank you, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm David Bickford, the chair of the board. To my right is...
David Swenson.
Gregory Anthony's.
And Scott Kinman, Town Administrator.
All right. And tonight, we have a special guest, Steve Whitman, I believe, and who's your friend with you?
Patty Connington from Moose Mountains Regional Green Lights.
why don't you folks come up and talk to us about the greenways and you have a presentation, I understand, for us.
Steve has the presentation, and because I'm the local, I'm here to introduce him. The Moose Mountains Regional Greenways hired a team to do conservation planning for our 7-town service area, which includes Wakefield, Wolfboro, New Durham, Middleton, Milton, Farmington, and Brookfield. Sue, this is our second Board of Selectmen meeting. We've already had one, we'll have 5 to go after this. And we wanted you all to hear what we are doing so that Steve can collect some information from you, make sure that we're including your directions in conservation at the same time that we are doing our own project for Moose Mountains. So I'd like to introduce Steve, who has, he's with Resilience Planning, and he's partnering with Dan Sundquist on this property. We're really excited about where it's going today. In fact, New Durham showed up in a great presence, and Scott was one of them at our visioning session. I would say that New Durham got the prize for the most number of folks who showed up. And we had about 65 or 70 people at the event, so New Durham really was shining.
Is that the event over at Wyatt Farm, you mean?
It was at Wakefield at the Opera House on the 29th of September. We had what they call a community visioning and sharing session. And we were really impressed to see Wakefield's presence, our New Durham's presence.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This will be pretty painless. We know you're busy and you have other things on the agenda. I appreciate getting to get on the agenda early on. I brought the map just in case any questions come up for you, but I'd also sent along a small version of the New Durham map. Basically, just to add on to what Patty said, we're looking at the 7 towns and potentially, we show on the map here, Rochester as well, just to get a sense of the relationship of all the land in this region. And we're going to be looking at this land area over the next year, really, almost a year by the time we're done. And we're trying to look at the region for all its uses. So we're looking at how towns are planning for their future. We're looking at the role of recreation. We're looking at future conservation opportunities to connect habitat. So we're very early on in that process, and we thought it would be really wise to come out and speak with the selectmen in each of the towns to just ask you a few questions about, what you're thinking about, things that you're aware of as we go forward and start reading your master plan and digging in deeper for each of the communities. So I'd be happy to just go through the questions that we have and take any information that we can get tonight from you or anyone else who's here, and then just consider it the start of a conversation so that if there are things that occur to you that you think we should be aware of, you can reach out to me and I'll make sure you have my contact information. And if we discover something, we'll come to you and ask if it's of value to the town of New Durham. New Durham, right in the middle. So we have Wolfboro, and as Patty said, all the way down, and potentially Rochester. So we're looking at this whole region, which falls within the focus area for Moose Mountains Regional Greenway. But tonight, we're really just asking you about New Durham, because we realized that that would be your area of expertise and the area that you're focused on most.
Well, it would still be helpful if you could give us a little direction as to what your intent is. Do you have an intent?
Yeah, so our intent is to develop the conservation plan over the next year. So we're going to be mapping, and we're going to be talking with stakeholders as we did at the kickoff community forum that Patty mentioned. So the intent is to engage people in the region, decision makers and residents, in thinking about the future. So in thinking about where they'd like to see land protected, where they'd like to see recreation happen, agriculture, other things. And so that's really that's why the focus of the 6 or 7 questions I sent ahead really we're trying to figure out how it may be different in each community. We're not expecting that you'll have the same approaches necessarily or the same issues across the 7-town area.
Would you like to have a couple minutes also to hear from the folks that came to the meeting tonight?
Absolutely. On any of the questions that I'm about to ask you, it would be great to get feedback.
All right, I just want to get a time frame thing.
Sure. I think if we could just take 15 minutes in total. I know you have other stuff on the agenda, so.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the first question we really have would be, this map, the green that you see on this map and the green that shows up on the small maps is our understanding of the conservation land that exists today. But we're wondering if you are aware of other conservation projects that are being talked about in the community, or if you have identified, or if the Conservation Commission has identified priority areas in the town. If anything comes to mind.
Well, you have a member from the Conservation Commission with us tonight.
All right.
I don't know how, you don't have a lot of time there yet, but.
I don't, but at the same, I can save time tonight. I was actually at the
forum,
that they
right.
had
Oh, okay.
a couple of weeks ago, and we gave them, along with several of the other Conservation Commission members, so we gave them a lot of input that night.
Okay, thank you then.
Okay.
Well, the northern end of town, I know if you look at the master plan, you'll see that they talk about that area as being one that could probably help in a greenway, which is an area for animals, as I understand, to move back and forth without having a lot of obstructions
Okay,
for them there. Does that sound right?
that sounds great.
And
I'll take a look at that.
we have a large parcel of property, the town does,
Okay.
on the northern side of Shaw's Pond. It's about 50 acres that
Is
you
that
may
the
want.
town forest?
No,
Okay, it's not. Okay. Sorry.
and anyway, that might be something to consider up in that area.
Okay.
Now, there is a region on that area called Copper Crown Village District. It's pretty densely populated and could become very densely populated. And we're trying to
That's
dampen
really,
that a little bit, but
that's really beyond that 50-acre parcel.
what's across the street, you might
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
But it's in their green, I think their greenway comes up in back of it, I think.
Okay. You
I don't think so.
follow
No.
this?
Yes,
Is it
Perfect.
Copper
Coming up from
Crown
both fields.
Conservation area?
Well,
Well,
there's Shaw's.
another greenway may,
right in
not the
here,
50-acre
Copper
parcel.
Crown. It's probably,
You can see it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's right around here.
What
Is
is
it pretty
it?
close to the
You should
town
have a
boundary?
copy of that.
Yes.
Copper Crown will be just east of Shaw's Pond,
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
across from the Kings Highway.
And next to the golf club.
Right, it's right next to the
Okay.
golf course.
in fact, you've got, Holmes has got a area
Yes.
that's,
Right in that area.
it would be just to the west of Holmes'
Mhm.
property that's has an easement on it.
Hayes and
Oh, right
there
there.
it is.
So
Okay.
I'm just, this is my own personal thoughts, that might be something to consider.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other board members want to chime in?
No, that's good.
Okay. Great. Our next question really has to deal with water. So it was interesting as we came in to hear you all talking about the reality of our current water situation with the low water levels that we're experiencing. There's not a public water supply in the village here, is there? I didn't think so. Is
Well,
Technically, there is, the school.
Yeah. This,
The school has technically a public well.
there? But there's not a distribution to multiple
No.
buildings?
No.
Okay.
well, there's Manitou's down here, which probably serves, enough so they're under PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, which
Okay.
is generally over 12, I think.
So it's a small water supply here
Yeah,
in the
it's
village?
it's
Yeah,
called
nothing
Community Water
large.
System.
Yeah.
It has a 200-foot radius
Okay.
protective
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Copper Crown has
Copper
a
Crown.
public.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is pretty good
community water
size,
supply.
too.
The Copper
Okay.
Crown Village does.
Oh, it does?
That would be the largest, I would think.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay. Are there thoughts on expanding either water supply that you're aware of, or any other issues related to groundwater? Things that have come up in town related to groundwater quality or supply?
Two very different questions there. The expansion part, I'm not aware of anything on the expansion. The
Okay.
other issue on concern, very definitely, we sit on an aquifer, et cetera, so.
Right.
So, yeah, what has the concern been? Is it over contamination, or is it over?
Just in any planned economic development and other activities, yeah.
Okay.
Right. One of the aquifers is in the southern corner of town.
Yeah.
So
So we down,
right down that area, and,
down this?
no, first one, she's got it, yeah,
Yeah.
she's right, down the bottom corner there.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I mentioned this at the forum a couple weeks ago. The planning board purchased and had a set of maps constructed with cooperation Stratford County Regional Planning,
Okay.
consisting of natural resource inventory, and there's a series of maps there. I'm pretty sure we have the digital data in-house, or you can go to Stratford and get
Right.
the same kind of thing.
Okay,
They'll have the aquifer data. There's another aquifer on the north shore of the lake, right around in that area. Yep.
okay.
So are those the aquifer recharge areas?
They're mapped out,
As
or?
far as I remember them, I'm not sure if you remember that.
There's one off of 11 too, isn't there?
Yep.
And we are,
That's the
we were
first
just
one we
talking,
talked about.
at the start of the meeting, we were just talking, we have aquifer layers that we can show on the maps, and we're in the midst of trying to get some better aquifer data from the state, so that we'll be able to bring better and better maps, and we'll be able to look at the NRI through Stratford Regional as well. Okay. Surface water issues? Any issues related to surface waters that have come up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down in the pond,
It's called cyanobacteria is what it's called.
Yeah, okay.
we've got high phosphorus levels causing cyanobacteria here down in pond, which is southwest of, yep.
Okay. Anything else besides that? Not that that's a small issue, but,
Well, it affects not only the Downing Pond, but it may be affecting even upstream from that location,
okay,
based on early phosphorus testing.
okay. So nearby waterways.
Yeah, well, upstream from, on the
Continue.
Merrimack
Same
River,
water.
Okay,
or downstream from the fish hatchery.
okay. All right.
The only other thing that I can think of that I've kind of wondered about, on the way up to the fish hatchery, on the left, there's a boat landing. And I don't know how many people, I know David would know, but that, underneath that parking lot is actually an old town dump that was closed, what, about 68 or 69?
Middle 60s,
Okay.
And we have bald eagles nesting and eating out of that river, and I just have often wondered how much is going into the river.
There's never been an investigation.
Not that I'm aware of, I mean, I've never heard of anybody, but it was, everything went into that dump.
Sure.
Right next to the water.
It's,
Right next to the
yeah,
water.
yeah,
Like so many.
Within seconds.
right, and that's, that's why
Dumps out.
I've wondered what's going on really
Okay.
from that,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
How about stormwater issues? Stormwater issues an issue here in New Durham? Have you had any issues either with volume or with
Not this year.
pollutants? Pardon?
Not this year.
Not this year. That's well said. Absolutely. But in the past, have there been issues with
Well,
stormwater here?
Sure, but a lot of it has been mitigated. FEMA's helped quite a lot.
Oh, they have,
to
yeah.
Mitigate that,
Yeah.
So-
with larger culverts and
Okay.
that sort of thing. I mean, you're always fighting it all the time, with roads and the ditching
Right.
and shimming roads up.
The town does have a culvert inventory, and it is online on our GIS map, and
Oh,
it's
great.
an actual layer, and it's accessible to the public, so you can see where the drainage infrastructure is.
Great. Okay. So we can find that on your website.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. It'd be interesting to see if any of the other towns have that done. Was it done with the Regional Planning Commission or was it done through FEMA?
That was actually done with the Regional Planning Commission
Oh, good. So that's hopeful. So maybe we'll find it in
a
other
couple of
towns
years
too.
ago, I think.
It'd be a really nice resource to have to know culvert size.
It's
So,
it's been ongoing since, or at least since the Mother's Day flood, as we call it.
Yeah.
so it sounds like you've been on top of it and thinking about the size of infrastructure and
Yeah.
different volume storms. Excellent. Okay. How about local clubs or organizations that are either managing or developing trails?
Yeah,
Well, there's
yeah.
a couple of them.
Okay. Who?
The
Otter Mill is one.
Powder Mill Snowmobile Club.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're the best I know of.
I think there is a ATV club, or there used to be. anyway.
There is an ATV club.
Not overly active.
Do they have a name or a contact person?
Yes.
I think it's New Durham ATV Club.
Okay.
think
I
so.
don't know what it
It used
is.
to be called anyway.
You can see I don't ATV, so.
And that's okay, but we do want to reach out to everybody, including ATV users, and see like what they're using, how they're looking at trail
The
systems.
Snowmobile Club is much more active, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did hear about them at the forum as well.
Well, the ATV club uses the roads north Merry Meeting Lake. There are a lot of Class 6 roads out there, so they use
Okay.
those quite a bit. There used to be a fellow by the name of Wheeler that used to be the president, and quite active, and I think he was from Boston though.
All right,
And that's all I can remember right now, unless somebody else does.
we'll do a little detective work, see if we
Well-
can figure it out.
No, there's wood
Those are a lot of leads, that's good.
logging roads.
Yeah, I'm sure they've got a website.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to track them down, and maybe some of the folks from the Snowmobile Association would even know the contacts as well.
They would, yeah.
Okay. Any other groups that are hiking trail groups or other kind of trail groups or organizations in the area? Nothing comes to mind.
No?
Okay. How about farms? So that's one of the other questions we had, is just about existing farms or farm stands.
Scott Drumming.
Not
We've
public
got,
yet.
And you
Still
did,
growing.
you were at that group.
Right.
In the forum, so you
Right.
gave us what you know from New Durham,
Right.
correct?
We came up with several blueberry farms. I don't remember the names.
There's
offhand.
blueberries, there's some orchards, there's
Miller Farm is a fruit orchard.
maple sugaring.
Okay, right.
Yeah, several places do that.
And there's one agricultural livestock at the corner of Merry Meeting Road and the Main Street.
Okay.
Yeah, big food farms right there.
Did anything else come to mind since we met the forum?
I didn't mention Miller Farm.
What is it?
Miller Farms, a
Miller
fruit
Farms,
orchard down
yeah.
there.
That's one of the orchards.
You mentioned
Okay.
Christmas tree? You got Christmas tree, did you?
Christmas trees.
No, I'll get it now though.
Yeah, that's up down the ridge. New Durham.
Yeah, on Berry Road.
Berry Road?
Berry Road, I told me.
And Ten Rod Road, well, I guess the main entrance is Berry Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We should be able to pick them out on the map, and we know what we're looking for.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if low bush blueberries are still being on Mount Jesse or not. Somebody told me that they were, but I wasn't aware of it.
I haven't heard lately on it.
No.
Used to be.
Blue Joe, I think, is still, wild blueberries.
That's in Stratford.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
still cultivating some of it, dude, but I'm not sure it's New
What's it?
Durham. I think it would be on the backside.
Oh, it might be Middleton then?
Oh,
Okay.
Obviously periodically trees.
Forestry.
Yeah, we've got a lot of trees,
Yes, you do.
especially in the backyard. We mow the front. Yeah, we hay too, if that counts.
Yeah, he definitely does, and that came up at the forum.
Yeah, I mentioned your
Hay
plot,
fields.
your plot.
Okay.
And we sell stone and rock.
Yeah, big rocks, like rocks.
Yeah.
Lots of rocks.
You grow them, don't you?
Yeah, we grew up this back, they're going to crash crop right now, rocks.
So we're almost through our questions for you. The next question is really about development trends. You know, over the last 10 years, a lot of communities haven't seen a lot of development for
Well,
obvious reasons.
there actually is a 2,000 plus acre piece that
Okay.
may or may not be up for sale, and I think it's up for sale, but may or may not
Is this
be.
up by Merry Meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, on the top there.
which would be
Just southeast
nice
of
to
the
see
lake.
as concerned.
Okay. So it's been talked about for development before.
Mm-hmm.
It's available for
Southeast.
sale. Okay. So
Southeast,
southeast of the lake.
yeah,
Yeah.
top of that hill.
Yeah, that'd be
I
one.
think it used to be called Red Oaks.
Okay.
Red oak or birch, which is.
The development that you have seen in the last 10 years, where is it happening primarily? Is it the development we see out in the state route?
No,
Okay.
that's limited access on Route 11 in New Durham.
Yeah.
We had a lot go on up on the Copper Crown Village District during the 2008. There hasn't been much since then either, I don't think.
Prior
Okay.
to 2000,
Yeah, prior.
Most of the planning board activities has been just special exceptions developments around the lake. People trying to do, expand their old campsite house
Okay.
into a modern house
So
and having
mostly
to deal with
expansion,
restrictions that are in place.
expansion of existing structures for the
Right.
same use.
Similar,
Also have
similar.
lots of new houses in the development around Chamberlain, and Coburn Woods up off Birchill Road.
Okay.
There are new homes, fairly new homes. Chamberlain Road, Coburn Woods.
Coburn Woods is probably 20 years back.
Yeah,
He's looking for something in the last 10 years, he's asking about.
Chamberlain would be there.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway.
But they're still building
Yeah.
Coburn Woods though.
Great. aside from that, not a lot of development activity, mostly conversions.
Yeah.
And then the last question we really have is, we've looked at the website. I saw that looks like the master plan is being updated now. Are you working with the Regional Planning Commission on that?
Somewhat, yeah,
Okay, so what's your timeline?
before March.
Oh, okay.
I mean, initial draft, I would hope by the end of the year.
Okay, great. I'm only reason I'm asking is we'll look at your previous master plan, we're looking at all the master plans, we're just trying to find out about other documents. So, but it would be nice to consider whatever it is you have come out of your new plan.
Our draft chapters are going on the town website as we produce them.
Okay, great.
So,
Other plans or studies, I saw the 2011 forest management plan.
yeah, that was more about the town forest.
Right. That's what it appeared to be.
What about it?
The 2011 forest management plan looked like it was for the town forest.
Yeah, well, statutorily, it's not a town forest. What it is,
Okay.
as you notice in the statute, I don't know if you know, there is such statute on town forest. This
Right.
was given, a piece of land given to the town through a will
Okay.
from John Shirley back in, I'm gonna say early 50s or something like that. And and he stipulated what it could use for. So forest happened to be one of those
Right.
things for the majority of the property. So we hired a forester to go out there and take a cutting, because it was well overdue.
Okay.
Beautiful, big, straight pine, and it had been managed, the town had managed, they had another forester back some years ago,
Okay.
take some out, and they did a very good job of forestry stewardship.
Okay.
So anyway, this forester took another cutting off of that property.
Okay. And that was after the 2011 management plan.
Is that what?
It was after the 2011 management plan?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
stewardship plan, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we
okay.
usually call
Got
it. It was the same guy that did the stewardship plan.
I think it was 13 or 14, somewhere there.
Right.
The cutting was? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other plans that come to mind or studies that you've done specific to New Durham?
Well, we're looking at, right now, in the process of getting a plan on the cost of paving dirt roads
Okay.
and what it would, to upgrade those roads, and in part, that has to do with stormwater management
Right.
and erosion control.
Okay. And what's the timeline for that?
I know, Scott, you said you had an idea, didn't you?
They were here last week, the town engineer was here with,
Well, he was looking for when they
DPW.
might be done.
I think we forecasted, we were hoping by the end of this month,
Oh, wow.
that it would be completed, but, they did have a little delay in getting there because of staffing, so I'm thinking they're a few weeks behind, but hopefully by, mid-November at the latest.
Great, okay. And who's doing that for you? then?
CMA engineering.
Yep. Great. Those are the questions that we have for you. Do you have questions for us?
What do you want to do? What do you,
If
I guess
you-
not, I mean, when I said that you're looking for pathways for migration of animals to,
Yeah, that's-
without interruption is kind of an idea, isn't it? What you're looking
That's definitely
to do.
part of it, but also for people, for recreation.
Yeah,
So we're really trying to take as comprehensive a look as possible across the 7 towns. And because we're so early on, we're just pulling together the GIS maps. We just had the first public forum to hear from people about what they know. We're trying to learn from the folks that live here and love this region, and then have that really inform the conservation plan. That will be, the conservation plan is really intended to identify the areas where there are opportunities for conservation that may also meet other goals that you have for your communities and in the region. And we want to make sure that it really can coexist with your plans for how you want to develop as a community. So you'll see this evolving over time, and we didn't want to get started without coming and meeting with the selectmen first.
all right.
So.
Well, let's take a minute then and see if anybody else wants
Yeah.
to throw something
The
in.
first,
Oh, Swen?
The output will be some sort of a map combination with a definition or a listing of potential opportunities for conservation pieces, I'm assuming, and then
Yeah.
once that's done, that's the initial output, I'm assuming is what you're saying. Once that's done, sounds like it's probably about a year away or so, as I recall you
Yeah,
said.
really June.
Yeah, this
So
summer.
6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And so what then? What's the point then?
It's a great question.
Yeah, from there, we envision, well, there'll be a plan and quite a few GIS maps, and they'll be available to the towns as PDFs as well. But Moose Mountains really looks forward to this as the baseline for our strategic plan, which will help us to really get focused on where conservation needs to happen in this region and where both the animals, the plants, but also the towns and the economic development will gain from this. So if we see that, putting a trailhead in near some parking that folks can unload their snowmobiles on and get onto already approved trails, well, that sort of calls us. Maybe we pay attention to that and say, that's a good place for creating that trailhead that goes up to some existing easements that allow them to go through.
Are you looking to be, once your initial output's done, are you looking to be a collaborative partner with various towns to acquire, access, whatever, various potentially planned land opportunities?
Well, since '98, Moose Mountains has been in the region doing conservation work, mainly educational, but also assisting larger organizations like SPNF to put easements on properties, and we still do that. But we've also started to hold our own easements, and so we are really starting to connect with landowners around this region, and so we will be holding more and more easements.
And partnering with towns would be wonderful. I mean, especially if it meets multiple objectives, that would be the idea.
I just want to follow up if I may.
Sure.
Funding will always be an issue, or funding or acquisition of property and all that. Do you have a plan to facilitate that, or are you looking for other ways to do that? What's the thoughts there?
So what we're doing in part is using this conservation plan. We hired Steve and Dan in part because they are have such a great reputation in the state that we've been getting some information that the state is going to really honor this plan when it's done, which means our focus areas will be recognized by those who are the big donors of the grant money.
Okay.
So we will be in a better, now we know that grant money you only get 50%. So then we start to look beyond that.
There's always a matching component.
There's always a
Usually a
matching,
matching component, not always. Usually a matching component.
Yeah, and I see David has our invitation to our one of the properties that we hope to conserve. In fact, we have an LCHIP grant in at this time for a property that is located at the very tip. At the
That's where Greg Anthony
point.
lives.
That's right.
81 Meterboro Road.
Great.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a little notice on this, as a matter of fact.
Well, where are you on Meterboro Road?
I'm just down the road, 103.
Oh.
We're
Probably in a butter.
well, a little bit further down. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When is that meeting? When is that?
The event is October 15th,
Yeah.
Saturday.
This Saturday.
And if you live in town, you have a meeting.
I got mine. I just
Oh.
So to also answer your question, David, one of the things we're trying to do through the conservation plan that Moose Mountains has asked us to help with is really to engage people and prioritize, because there will be limited funds or limited grants to go after. So one of the things we'll also be reaching out to folks in the area to participate in if they're interested. It's called the Delphi process, and it's something that my partner Dan, who's doing all the GIS maps, will lead folks through. But you engage people in the communities, members of conservation commissions, property owners, anyone who's really interested, and it'll probably be a group of about 30 or so people from across the 7-town area. And it's like a 3-meeting commitment, and it's basically to look deeply at the data from the GIS maps, like really understand all the natural resources and other competing needs, and then to go through a ranking system so that we're prioritizing based on what people think are priorities in their towns and in this region. And then that will generate a different map, an additional map that says, based on here's how people rank things, if this rings true for you, here would be properties that would be high priority. And it adds an additional layer of intent that the grantors like to see.
Okay.
So.
We're running really late,
Yes,
so I
yes,
just want to
thank
give, and if anybody wanted to throw something in,
Yeah, just a quick one. When you were talking about.
just take your name.
I'm sorry, Mark Sullivan, City River. You were talking about stormwater management. And
Yes.
we focused on the culverts, but it occurred to me, we have at least 4 dams in town between Merrymead and Winnipesaukee.
Right.
That represent about a 150-foot drop.
Okay.
Something probably should be considered.
Thank you for that, Mark. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it being on the beginning of the agenda as well. It's always nice.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
thank you,
very
and feel free to reach out if anything comes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any feedback?
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting the both of you. I think I've seen you a year and a half ago.
Thank you.
Weren't you here when you were,
All right, it's 7:30, so 7:31. So do we have any public input from anyone? Any public input from anybody? Sue Randall.
Can I ask a question about the agenda?
Would you, oh, you want to come up and, so we can get the camera without whipping around it?
I can refer it.
Can you? Okay.
Under new business, the number G, letter G, can you explain a little bit about the policy committee? Because I think there were a couple of us who were supposed to be involved in that, but I know nothing about it.
we're gonna be discussing that, yes.
Okay, well, my concern.
Pulling it together and getting the other two
We're
members.
getting it set up.
And Scott and I have been, for the last month or so, been talking about that.
Okay.
Getting the information together, so we'll talk about that.
Okay, yeah, but that's my concern
Yeah.
is, once
You're on
public
that.
input's over, we're not supposed to say anything, so that's why I'm asking.
No, yeah, that'll be brought up for you.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
you're one of the members that's on.
Right. Yep.
And, Walter,
Just-
yeah.
I'd like to add to that, about a month ago, Cecile brought up some questions that haven't been answered in reference to legal suits and everything. Ours was settled quite some time ago. There was some time stipulations on some of the committees that would be formed. Nothing has been acknowledged on that, and,
It will tonight.
well, it was supposed to have been done in May, if you read
Right.
the agreement.
Right.
And there's a lot of other things on that agreement that haven't been acknowledged.
Well, we've been working on,
All I'm saying is, you're not going, you haven't gone at all by the agreement that you signed with the attorneys.
Okay, thank you, Clayton. Anyone else? All right. All right, well, thank you. Then we'll move on to agenda review. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that?
I have a statement that I'm going to read, so that could be put on either the end of new business or the end of old business.
Okay. Okay, wherever you want, at the end of new business?
That'd be fine. It is actually part of old business, so,
Well, suit yourself.
yeah.
Tell
Old
me what
business,
you want.
old business
Old
is fine.
business is, all right, C.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Two items that I have that didn't make it to the agenda. One was the August 29th, 2016 meeting minutes. Should appear under the review and approval of minutes. And also, I have a item for the chair's signature. I'm not sure it actually needs an official motion, but with change of staff here at Town Hall, we need to designate the authorized officials for the 911 group. So there's a primary person and a secondary person that has correspondence and link with 911 as far as numbering for 911, addressing for
Okay, you want
911.
to put that under H?
Sure, that would be great.
Anything else, Scott?
That's it.
Huh?
That's all.
Oh, okay.
Just those
Twins, would you mind, can you give us a review of you went to the New Hampshire Municipal Association legislative policy?
Yeah, I didn't bring my notes, but I can give a brief, very brief overview if you wish tonight.
All right. Maybe
Might be
follow
better
up
to
with-
do that Monday when I'll have a little bit more notes with some
Okay.
specifics.
All right, fine, then we'll plan on that for the agenda. Get an update on that, how you made out. I did want to also bring up impact fees. If not this meeting, we probably need to talk about it the next meeting. How's that sound, everybody?
Next meeting would be good, yeah.
Okay, then we'll add that to next meeting, agenda, Scott.
Yep.
Next meeting is Monday night anyway, so it's like 3 nights
correct.
away or whatever, so.
Yeah, moving right along, isn't it? Scott, did you have anything on the 2017 budget? You got a review here.
Just a couple items, I have actually a handout for you, which gives a,
We didn't have any department reports or issues.
no,
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I would assume compensation.
okay.
it should be, three.
Okay.
I've been working with the department heads relative to the budgets and collecting that information. I've gotten a lot of that done over the past week, and things are wrapping up. I am in hopes that I will be able to give you some draft materials that you can start to review, hopefully by end of week, and would like to set up now a little bit more firmer relative to our review schedule for the budget, for the board's review. And basically I've taken about 5 different 4-hour sessions to break up some of the review process to have that happen. In turn, I'd like to ask for consideration as to whether or not Monday's meeting could be bumped up a little bit earlier in the day so we could start that process, handle whatever agenda items that I carried over and or the last couple that you just mentioned, and then step into a review of the starting of the budget. So next week, actually, there would be about 3 days that would be allocated for budget review, and then a couple other days the following week to try to get through the budget so we can continue to forward those on to the budget committee. I'm in hopes that to give the budget committee next Wednesday at least some draft materials that they can take to be in preparation for the following Wednesday, as my understanding from the chair was that he wanted to start after next Wednesday with his starting of the reviewing of the budgets. So I was hoping that we could get through a few to be able to forward those on to the budget committee for their review, and then be able, so they could start scheduling their people in, we could schedule ours in. So
My notes show that the budget committee was originally planning to look at the first meeting on the 19th. Have they changed that now?
they're gonna meet on the 19th to do third quarter review, and then they would be receiving the budget. Some of it may not have your recommendations on it as of yet, but that's what I'm not sure as to how it's always gone here, whether or not, you know, I'm guessing that they would get the pieces to it that would have at least your recommendations on it. I mean, we have the department's recommendations that are on there right now in there. I did not make a category that says town administrators recommendations. I worked with the department heads back and forth to try to hone it, or if I had questions that way for clarification purposes. So,
Well, historically, yeah, they've not looked at accounts that the Board of Selectmen had not yet looked at, so.
Okay.
And again, that could change, but that's historically how it's been.
yep. But we would give them initially, most likely their actual books. It would have be divided up, and then as you complete your materials, and we would then give them their sheets to then be plugged into the books along with the backup that goes along with that. Your books will have the data backup relative to what's been produced by departments relative to their budgets that way. So,
Now, what you've got put together is the departments along with you, or is this your recommendation? Because last year Carter decided to, or I shouldn't say decided, but he asked if he could do a recommendation, town administrator's recommendation.
yeah.
So, what, are you presenting the department head's recommendation, or are you presenting your recommendations? Or is it a hybrid?
I guess you could, in some ways, you could call it a hybrid. Some of the areas, you know, I've probably had some influence in as far as going through that, but I have to say that the departments took the philosophy relative to what both you and the budget committee had, with either a plus or minus 1%. Coming in, I think majority of the budgets that you'll see have followed that philosophy all the way through their process. There's a couple that, because of budgeting from last year that had not been accounted for, It does have an impact on this year because some things weren't accounted for and had to be built into this year's budget, which had it causes them to be over. But overall, I'm seeing the numbers come in, from what I can see right now, very favorably relative to a budget coming in. So.
Now, you've got Monday, October 17th here, and you'd like to change that, I think I heard you say.
Well,
Yeah.
we originally had looked at the 13th tomorrow as our first meeting.
Yeah, and for some reason, when I was reading the minutes the other day, I ended up catching that. But clearly, I will not have, things that would be in a good enough state, and I'm supposed to be at Primex tomorrow for a training session in the morning, so I'd like to try to defer that date to the 17th if we could start earlier in the day.
Well, what I'm getting at here is, what I'm looking at, are these all things that you'll be presenting, or does somebody need to come in with you to present?
Department head?
I'll be presenting on Monday the 17th for that process there.
So we've
for
got
those
plenty of room
departments.
to, see, we generally, we're cognizant or aware of the schedules of the department heads. Some of them, of course, may not work during the day. They may have jobs during the day. So we try to shift a day one way or the other for them. In other
Right.
words, we'll come in at night for them.
Right.
And we can do the same thing for you. If something doesn't work during
Right.
the afternoon, we can do probably we can, we'd have to ask ourselves, some shifting to accommodate your schedule.
Yep. Basically, I have scheduled these tentatively right now, with the exception of the land use boards. I have mentioned land use here, basically to take care of the administrative functionality of it. And whether you'd like to meet with each one of the board chairs for that process. You can, as you review those budgets, hopefully you'll be able to make that determination, and then I can check with them to schedule them in. The departments in which I have tentatively scheduled at this time are the ones being the police department, fire department, building inspector, health officer, forestry, recreation, and then public works, and the entities which are under the public works department. Those are the departments which I consider to be your big nuggets. The rest of it is pretty small potatoes, other than the capital and your planning. CRFs and ETFs are a larger nugget that way as well. But the other ones are relatively small. And I think the staff, I've scheduled these that Monday and Tuesday when there is staff here in the building to help support if I cannot carry the water on those.
They'll come down with you, so if we have questions of both of you, they can.
If need be, I think, the town clerk, tax collector will be here, and during the day when they're able to come by, and one covers one another. And with the exception, they're both generally here on any day of the week, with the exception of Wednesdays. So I think that works. I think it's pretty flexible.
Well, I can't speak for the others, but I'd like to have, when we talk about a particular department, have that person here with you.
Okay.
So if we do have questions, we don't have to call the person in, they're right there.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's why I was
We get-
asking if you want to do a overview with us, just for
First?
yourself, and that gives you an idea whether you have, what kind of questions you might have.
Okay,
For,
you want to do it that way
if you do
then?
it that way, you can save the department heads. some
That's
time.
fine, for coming back a second time, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make light of, the size of your budget or anything of that nature.
No, that's fine.
I'm just, right now, if I didn't find that the philosophy was being met, I would certainly say that we have some challenges. But at this point, I don't see those challenges. I think, there is some construction of the budget that is slightly different than what was in the 2016 budget, and that's just based upon the staffing mechanics here at the town hall,
Right.
which is, once again, it's kind of a fluid object. Money from here to there, and sharing of staffing and services. So I see that as something that I can certainly explain. I think once you look it over, I would look for you to If you have questions, and you can pull those together and say, hey, listen, I think we need to have, Stephanie definitely in here because this is, I don't understand it, or we can't follow it. I think you'll see in this budget that there is a considerable more detail in which you'll actually see below each account, which defines what those accounts are actually spent on, whether it be staffing or items of purchase, and things of that nature. So
And you're gonna send that to us on Friday so we can review it over the weekend?
my hopes is before dark on Friday that
For the task.
you have the books, and you'll have a cover memo with it. This is not a, it's not a glory chaser for me. It's basically to highlight
Right.
things within the budget, so that you can see them. You would, if there's one that has an incremental percentage that is out of the norm in which you have put together for your philosophy, that it would be called out and at least given a general overview as to how it was explained to me and how I see it, as far as the reasons why, one way or the other, in that. And some balance one another off. You may see some increases in administration or executive cycle, but you may see some significant reductions in some other areas, and it's just because the monies shift from one department to another. So I'm hoping just to put a brief
Well, let's-
summarized cover memo with that.
Let's look at the schedule first. How's everybody feel about the schedule?
Yeah, I would like to see, the 17th and the 18th are okay from my point of view. I'd like to see the 19th shifted to the 21st if we could.
21st would be a,
Friday afternoon.
Oh, on Friday?
so Thursday. That's right, that's not Thursday. The October is Wednesday. On your sheet, you got Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 19th would be,
yeah, I wouldn't do that.
So on
As you
the,
well know.
on the 17th, you got 1 to 5, and then again, we'll start at 7 at night?
I would just as soon not, if I didn't have to.
what's that?
So
You
you're,
would start your selectmen's meeting, do your business right at the very beginning, and
of the
then,
1 o'clock?
and then go into the work session.
Okay, that's fine. And then we'll
Ideally.
We'll get-
exclude the 7 then?
Yeah, I mean, given that it's only 3 days away, I wouldn't anticipate the agenda for that particular day to be,
I looked
Very,
at whatever was left
strenuous.
over from tonight,
Right.
thinking that I could get home by 1 AM, type of thing.
Don't
Versus
Don't speak.
the cot, I still haven't got the bunk room made upstairs, and handicap shower's not in.
Okay.
So-
Well, we have a nice one over at the
so
highway.
are there any issues moving the 19th to the 21st?
That's Friday, right?
Right.
And we've got here about,
You have Thursday, but 19th is a Wednesday, by the way. Your listing says Thursday.
I'm sorry, I made it should actually be the 20th. I should have had the 20th.
oh, you meant to be the 20th? Okay.
Yes,
I'd still like it to be the 21st, and the reason is that we're gonna be pretty actively involved that night.
That's right, yeah.
You and I and Scott and
Yeah.
others, the other Scott.
Yeah, the forum.
And
is that
so
night.
it'd be just nice to have that time to prepare a little bit.
On Thursday, you said?
Yeah. So I'd like to move it to the 21st.
So the 19th moving to the
The
21st.
19th, which was now supposed to be on the 20th, really moves to the 21st,
And we're still gonna shoot for 1.
1 to 5, yeah.
So what's the wing ding on the
And nothing on the 20th then?
It's a planning board thing,
master plan?
the form,
Yeah,
yeah. Tuesday,
Town
25th.
service.
Well,
should be okay.
Thursday, it's a planning board, you
Yeah,
say at
it's a-
night at 7, it's a
Yeah.
major one?
Yeah.
Be there or
So
be
the other dates are okay for me.
okay.
So nothing on Wednesday now? Is that correct?
Well, I'll be here Wednesday night for a budget committee meeting,
Yeah.
but
But other than that?
Right.
the dates, right?
Okay, so this is now crossed out, and this is now the 21st.
and we will meet in the community room on all of these, just so
Yeah,
everybody knows. I think we talked about it before.
yeah. Well, you can't be here during the day.
Well, yeah, it just makes it a little bit more difficult for,
You got people
Folks
coming,
coming in.
yeah, that's right.
All right, you got anything else on this?
no,
Issue?
I think that's fine. I'll make those adjustments, put the postings up as such. I'm gonna post Mondays as a regular meeting, but do you want all of these actually posted as regular meetings, or do you wanna call them budget work sessions? I think personally, I mean, I would post them as just regular meetings, because you are going to be making votes at those meetings. And my understanding is that if you make a vote at a meeting, or at a work session, that constitutes, it's really a meeting.
It's all a meeting.
It's all a meeting
Yeah,
anyway,
so
right?
let's call it a meeting. Are we
So-
still gonna shoot for the 25th and the 27th then, or the following week?
Yeah,
If those dates work for everybody, does that work?
Thursday the 27th? You okay with that, Greg?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But
we're-
all those are one, right?
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait
Yeah,
a
the
minute.
only change is the middle one.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I got an appointment on the 27th. I will have to move it again. Now, he's not gonna be a happy camper. Okay, so the 27th, I'll move my appointment. And so we're here at 1, Board of Selectmen. And then this will be 1 o'clock also on the 25th. And wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute, we have CIP at 7.
On what, the 26th?
On the 25th.
Yeah, the 25th, so that'll be fine. We should be done by, what, about 5, I would think.
5. Yeah, we'll be done at 5. You have CIPC meetings at 7.
At 7.
At
Well,
7.
I'm not sure if
the
7 or
27th?
7:30.
Yeah, it
On
should
the
be all right.
On 25th.
25th.
So that's Board of Selectmen at 1. Here at 10, 1 is Board of Selectmen, and 7 CIP. Budget's on the 26th, Thursdays, move the appointment, and then we'll go 1 o'clock on that. Okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
All right, now, Scott, you want to do something about your town hall staff and a little extra help?
Yeah, I gave you a memo a short time ago, just talking a little bit about the reorganization that I made here at the town hall relative to the administrative staff and staffing of different departments and boards. And with that in mind of shifting folks around and not filling one of those administrative assistant positions, is I really feel that it'd be important to hire a office clerk or a clerical support person to support the administrative folks that are in there. So we have an administrative one level person who now is connected to land use side of the house with building inspecting, land use boards, and also does welfare and also does assessing. We need a support person to help support that person with doing the filing and any other support activities, copying, also to support administration with doing a little bit of that type of work. It's I guess some people would
Looks
call it
like you're
busy
looking
bodies.
for somebody that might be able to come in for a couple of days a week.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
for- you
We
put-
went back into the applications that were currently on file from the previous hirings for office clerk, one being the DPW office clerk position, as well as we looked at the other finalists and folks that were interviewed by the board for the administrative assistant one. Those candidates had, out of that group there wasn't anybody that was still in the avail out of that group, so we went to the DPW clerk one. There was one that had been previously offered a conditionally a position from that hiring, but had turned it down due to family
Daycare, yeah.
situation. So calling that person back up to see if anything had changed in that childcare situation. I did meet with her, Jen and I both did, and talked with her. And right now, those type of hours of Thursdays and Fridays, and possibly some other additional hours would help out. So basically, we'd be in that realm of between 12 and 20 hours a week, depending on what the actual need is, but primarily covering during the Thursdays and Fridays where we're a little bit lean in the office here. We've made some changes in the facility as far as the auto attendant for the phone system, so that staff can, focus on work primarily versus having to answer phones I mean, eventually they have to answer a call, of course, but it gets
But it's
directed
direct.
to the right
Yeah,
person.
I kinda like that.
So, I mean, we've tried to make some good efficiency use of time.
All right, well, let's check with the board, see how they feel about the idea.
Well, the concept of arranging the staff to be more efficient and to cover in a better way is fine. The issue I have is that you're looking to hire somebody that's not currently employed, so it's not a reassignment of duties of somebody new. So you haven't posted the position, you haven't really followed those policies, and that's a little bit of a concern for me.
The only thing that, in that situation there, that I looked at was your postings that you had for all of these positions that Carter posted. It's something that I kind of brought with that, because Carter used to do it, right, when I was there, is all positions are posted until filled, and lots of times folks are told if in fact they're not the successful person, and I'm not sure if that happened in this situation here, is that their application would stay on file, and if in fact another opening came up, you would dip back into that file before going back out in advertising and enduring basically that expense.
I would
for
think we
doing
would
it.
still want to waive the policy to do it that way.
Okay.
I think.
I'll do it whichever way you want to do it. Makes no difference to me. I just feel that there is a need for the additional clerical support in doing that. You know, we've conversed around the employee group here relative to any other people that might be part-time.
Yeah, I mean, again, make sure you understand the position here. It's clear that what you're looking at is you're not really increasing headcount from what was budgeted, because we did have a land use person that left a few months ago, and you've redistributed that work to remaining staff. So
That's correct.
the headcount from a budgeted point of view is not being increased. That's not the problem, so I don't have a problem with that at all. The problem I have is, as I said before, is that those positions that were interviewed were 8 months ago or more, 10 months ago. It becomes a little bit of a concern here, because now this really is a new position also, recognizing that it's a combination of some other positions, but it's really a new position. So the fact that it's not posted for me has major concerns.
Okay, Greg, you want to say anything?
Well, I looked at the, I went back and looked at the different applicants for this, another type of job. And then I looked over this young lady's resume, which I was very impressed with. So I really don't have a problem moving ahead on this, as long as we're trying to follow the hiring policy of the town. And you know, if it's something we want to move along with quickly, then like Dave said, we might have to waive part of the town hiring policy. So it's just how soon you need this person. And, you know, because if you post it again, you know, there's a period of time that we're gonna have to wait to get people, you know, applications in. And you know, as I looked at this person, and I think you've talked to this person, I don't wanna lose this person necessarily. So I'm comfortable moving along on this.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a couple points that I would make is, and I certainly understand, you know, we want to comport to policies and follow them. You know, one of the biggest issues is this is basically an office clerk type of position. It's not a actual assigned person to be in charge of a certain department, things of that nature. It's a clerical support person to help us out, although this person hasn't. I mean, she's got a bachelor's degree.
Oh, yeah, she's
and has
very well
been
qualified.
involved in office work, but still on the other side of it is to put the advertisement out for a 2-week period and borne the expense of that, and then go through, it's about 6 weeks type of thing there. And, you know, certainly we can tough it through that way. And if that's the route folks want to go.
Well, it's my understanding that the staff has talked with this young lady, and they get along with her. And that's a key to me. Anytime you bring someone in, if they know a person and they get along with that person, that's certainly a plus in my mind. And to me, that would move this ahead. So, like I said, I don't mind, since this is not a permanent position, and it's a part-time position, and the staff has talked to this person in the past and then once again, and they're comfortable with this person, then I think we could move along. I wouldn't have a problem moving along.
All right, does the debate change your position, Swens?
No.
Okay. I too feel that we should probably follow the policy, Scott.
Good.
So, run down those.
We'll put the advertisement together.
No, just quickly, Scott, no, you projected 6 weeks.
I don't think it'll take.
I don't think it needs to take that long, quite frankly. I think there's a period, perhaps a week or something for the advertising, for the posting, and then do a quick interview within a couple of days. And another 2 weeks. You should be able to do it within 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
All right, good. You're all set on town administration, aren't you, Scott, then?
Yes.
Okay. Police officer, we have the appointment of Jameson Young, if everyone is satisfied.
Yep, you have a staff report in your packet in regards to Jameson Young. He has signed his conditional offer of employment and has gone through his background investigation by the police department and as set out by police standards and training, completed physical agility test, physical examination, and all other testing that's required. Chief has indicated that he has passed all phases of that and has provided the report for the folks at the police academy so that he could be enrolled as a candidate on the...
January, is it?
You would go to the academy in January.
And then we'd hire him early on so we could start that process so we don't have the long-term after the academy.
That's correct.
Which I think is fine. I had a chance to talk to Sergeant Meady today and get his personal inputs on this individual. We interviewed this individual and I was very impressed with this individual. So I have no problem with hiring this person. I would change a few things in the motion, though, and maybe we can do that a little bit later after the other two selectmen talked about this. But I'm for this candidate, and I'm ready to move along.
I'm ready for a motion. How about you, Swan?
Just one quickly thing. Yeah, I'm very close. Scott, if I remember, I shouldn't say remember. Do you know if this individual has done some preliminary testing relative to making sure that he passes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Physical agility tests?
Yeah.
Flying colors.
Yep.
I recall that he did that actually before,
Yeah.
during the interview process. I just wanted to make sure the public knew that, so.
And his father's in law enforcement, so he has an understanding of what it means to become a policeman.
All right.
Here's the two.
What I had said, I think, borders on perhaps what you want to do with that motion to make sure that he would be eligible for the entry, but I think we're pretty much assured that that's the case, so.
All right, you get some.
Well,
Stuff.
in the motion, we don't mention the amount. Is that something we put in the motion?
Should
Be able to pay.
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing we should put in the motion, after appointment requiring the appointee, I would insert graduate from the police academy and then put the word "and" to enter into a 3-year employment contract. I think
Sounds right, yeah.
those two things should be put in that
You
motion.
got anything else?
No, I think.
All right, why don't you make a motion?
I'll make the
Well, you
motion.
need, what is the rate?
He's
per
got
hour?
it right
I
there.
got 1746.
That's the-
Yeah, you had already done that in your previous
Yeah,
motion.
the one
Yeah, I
before.
know, I know.
For the conditional offer.
But, and the reason for that rate is that he's not certified yet.
Right.
So-
Right,
so-
that 95% of that pay is 1830.
Yeah, for certified gets up to 1838, right?
Right.
Yep. Okay.
So you're saying because we did it before, we don't need to do it again?
That's the only reason why I left it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So suit yourself.
Now,
Okay.
well, just the other point is that we had, I think, in the original motion also the condition on graduation from the academy, but I don't have an objection to adding that back into this.
Yeah,
one.
I think in the conditional offer, it says it must complete all background checks and police academy prerequisites.
Right. But I think Greg's point here, which I think is valid, is that this motion will also say that he needs, in order for his continued employment, he would need to pass all police academy requirements. Right? If I understood you correctly.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
graduate from
part
the
of the
academy.
contract actually says that he has to complete the police
Right.
academy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion that in accordance with the town's hiring policy and with no comments received during the 2-week vetting period, that Jamison Young be appointed to the position of police officer at the rate of $17.46, effective 10/13/16. Said appointee requiring the appointee graduating from the police academy and to enter into a 3-year employment contract.
All right, I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Yeah. A little concerned about the wording of the motion. One could interpret it that he had to graduate from the police academy before he's hired, but,
In the state of New Hampshire,
yeah, I understand that. It's just how the wording of the motion was.
I don't like the police academy information being in there, because when you hire somebody, I mean, they're on probation, they fail to complete the academy, they're terminated,
Right.
or it's a judgment call as to whether or
Right.
not. And they're under a contract, because they signed a contract when they start their employment.
Well, it doesn't hurt to put it in there.
Well, I don't think what Scott's saying, it could hurt. Is that what you're saying, Scott?
Well, I'm just saying, I think it just, it adds for confusion, and potentially could be that of an interpretation issue. I don't know that I don't see that it's necessary. I mean, there's certain requirements under state statute that somebody has to fulfill in
Yeah.
order to be a police officer.
And as you've noted, it's probation. I mean, I think we're okay with it. I just was a little bit concerned on the wording of it. Could have been interpreted a couple of different ways potentially.
So does that mean we're okay with it? And go forward, or go back to the original motion?
Well, certainly the rate has to be there, I think, even though it's been covered before.
All right.
Just let me read this again here. So,
Oh.
upon employing the appointee to graduate from high school and to enter into a yeah, I can understand Scott's point. I think Scott has a valid point.
All right, so you would like to
Yeah,
take
you
out
may
the
need to
academy
do,
part?
yeah, I think you do need to leave the rate in there, even though it's redundant because it's already been taken care of in our conditional offer, but to graduate from police academy, yeah, that insertion does provide alternate interpretations of the motion as a whole, and not only that, I think Scott's point is valid that it's a probationary hire for a year anyway, and if they don't meet the conditions that have already been outlined in the conditional offer, which were part of graduating from the police academy, then it's taken care of. So I do think that may need to be stricken.
All right, would you,
I can either amend it, or we can rescind it, and
Well,
we go at it.
I think we put it in the other one, but I don't have a problem leaving it in.
yeah, but I felt like to have it out. Scott seems to think it would be better, and I can see their point. So I'm gonna prefer to leave it out, given what I've heard.
I'll make an amendment then. I'll make an amendment to strike the to graduate from police academy from the motion.
All right, I'll second that. All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, just discussion on the point. The reason for that stricken part is not that that's not required, because it's already covered in prior agreements as well as a contract, but to make sure that the motion is clear and clean in terms of its intent.
All those in favor of the amendment to the motion? original motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any thoughts, Greg?
If we're saying that the,
You can say no, because we got you outgunned anyway.
well, there's a discussion part, and this is what I want to discuss. In accordance with the town's hiring policy, is that what you're saying that's covered, that he has to graduate from the,
It's
Police
both in
academy.
the, it's both in the town's hiring policy under police officers, I believe, for uncertified. Might have to go back and look to make sure. But the other piece of it is it's under state RSA that they have to complete the police academy and graduate within a certain time frame of the time in which they're hired. Anyways,
but do we know when that is?
do we know what the time frame is?
Right.
Under the state statute, they can, a department, town, community, police chief can make a request if in fact somebody does not complete it for whatever reason, and ask for an extension in order to have that happen. Some communities grant that based upon the circumstances. Say somebody took ill, had cancer or something, had an illness, and so they could postpone it if in fact they wish to do that, or they may choose to terminate that person at that point in time and go with somebody else because they can't.
We're able to do that?
Yes.
I don't think we'll have that problem with this candidate,
So you
but
have,
just to,
your employees
cover-
are at will here in New Durham, so they're in that situation. They're on probation for a year anyways.
okay.
It's signed, just,
yes or no?
just as a follow-up,
Then
the
yes.
signed conditional
Okay.
offer includes that graduation as well as includes the probation and all that stuff.
Okay, the amendment is
So what-
unanimous,
So it's 3-0,
and so now we'll go back to the motion.
the amended motion, yeah.
The amended motion, yeah. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So that's unanimous.
You seconded the original motion, right?
Point there for signature.
No, you got your,
No, but you seconded the original motion. So,
yeah, the motion
we
we
made
just
the
did.
motion, you
Yeah.
seconded it, I amended
Yeah.
it, you seconded it, 3-0, 3-0.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. As
So
long
that-
as it's tagged with it, then I'm fine with this.
All right. Now we can move on to Department of Public Works. So Scott's
I'm
good.
just writing down these, you second the amendment too, right?
No, yes, he
yeah.
seconded
And you
it.
seconded
I
Greg.
did both second.
Correct, that's what I thought. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I keep a little note in the bottom there just in case I can't remember. Okay, so Department of Public Works, we got a couple purchase orders here. One is for truck tires, and that is at the, they've gone out and solicited for state bid, folks, and went to 3 vendors, obtained 3 quotes, and those are for the purchase of the tires, state bid tires, and then also for the mounting of those tires and such.
You're doing tires first?
Yeah, I can,
Okay.
I'll do the tires first, and with that, I have a price for that, which ends up being $43.51.64. That's Northeast Tire out of Belmont. They gave the best price on that.
The initial question I had, which wasn't clear in the original stuff, but it is clear in your report, this is for the dump trucks, right? Winter
Correct.
tires and dump
Yeah, all
trucks.
the big dump trucks.
So how many, you were talking about 12 tires?
12 tires for the total of the 43.61, and that's, like I said, they take the old ones off and mount them and put new valve stems in them and have them all ready to go.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion to authorize purchase order number 2344 in the amount of $4,351.64 to Northeast Tire of Belmont, New Hampshire, for the purposes of purchasing 12 snow tires with dismounting and mounting included. Said expenditure coming from the Department of Public Works Vehicle Maintenance Account number 001 -4312-10-06660.
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds that. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Do we just need one authorized signature here?
I didn't say the chair, so if y'all can, we usually,
Okay.
we will scribble on the bottom, that would be great. And who seconded it?
I did.
Greg. Thank you. And, let's see.
Sir.
Thank you.
And the next one is for the brush grinding at the transfer station. That was for Thomas Huckins out of Farmington, for a tub grinder for grinding the brush pile. He gave a quotation for $3,500 to do so. And they did attempt to solicit from other folks that have that type of equipment to do so and received no response back. I'm guessing folks are probably busy and didn't get back to them on that.
And I see here that this gentleman has done a previous for
He
us.
did, and
So
he,
they were,
he just did the town of Alton's as well.
yeah, so they're very comfortable with his work and he does,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to authorize purchase order number 2343 in the amount of $3,500 to Thomas Huckins Limited Liability Corporation of Farmington, New Hampshire, for the purposes of brush grinding at the solid waste facility. Said expenditure coming from the solid waste facility disposal account number 001-4324-10-0440.
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds it. Any further discussion?
Well, just for some information to the public, the last time this was ground, the pile was ground was in 2014, and this gentleman did that at that time at the same price. So since then, the price hasn't gone up. So I think that's a good bargain.
Yeah. Taking brushing is a very good service that New Durham has. Not every town, I don't believe, has that.
No, I think that's absolutely right.
I know it's saving me from a lot of holes in my clothes now, and they take stuff to the dump instead of burning
Can I
it.
ask a question?
Yes, Scott.
What's the town do with the brush, with the chips that are gonna be produced?
I don't know what, I know he does
They're all to
landscaping.
the public?
I didn't find out. Some companies take them.
Mhm.
Other companies just put them on site, and I don't recall what Joe said that he did. Do you recall him what he did in the past?
They've always taken them, as far as I know,
Yeah.
in the
Mr.
past.
Hawkins will take him?
I think he does landscaping and that sort of work.
Yeah.
He's like the stump grinding. If you want to reclaim some land from a
Grind the
forest to
stump.
a field, he'll take the stumps out. He's got a big excavator and then throws them into that grinder and grinds them up.
When I didn't have Mr. Huckins in Moultonborough, we used to grind ours every year. Cost us about $5,000 a year to do it up there. We had a little bit more quantity, but they always took the chips with them that way.
Which I think,
Pay him to grind chips and he gets them.
Yeah.
Wow. Good gig.
Yeah, and
well, I think he actually keeps the price down because that equipment's not cheap to run.
It's a good gig.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's,
Landscaping chips, it's $20 a yard.
well,
Turns around to a different market.
you want to follow the utility around
yeah.
We can inquire and see if it, what it would be. We have quite a bit of compost. It seems to move okay. out there.
Chips don't do well on compost.
Right.
As far as making compost,
No.
unless you have a long duration of composting.
I don't know how much
'cause it's-
Research and mix them.
Yeah, I don't know how much demand, if there'd be enough demand for chips or not, that we grind up here. 'Cause remember, it's brush, it's not the bigger stuff, it's every size.
That's better
Is it?
for me.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't
Well, we'll
mind
have
if you
to-
go down there and
Yeah,
grab some of it.
Maybe throw some on the ground.
Yeah, look at it.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
ask
I don't know
Mike
that you- I
or
don't know that you have that,
Donnie.
you have that going on down there, when people come in and get,
They do get,
Compost, they get.
not loan, the compost.
Yeah.
they come get compost, right, I know about the compost situation, but do you have it set up that people dump wood chips down there and that
We
they?
haven't, that I know of
Okay.
yet. I mean, I'm always willing to listen to these ideas, you know, to help the public out, why not?
That's a related question, though. Is that I never tested the compost?
Oh,
What's in it?
Right.
Well, we're kind of getting off of what.
I know a little bit. I don't mean to stray you too far, but I'm curious.
It's true.
We're in the middle
We used to do
of a-
compost as well, and it was, all vegetative matter, that, leaves and the biennials and all that stuff. But it became an issue, that's the reason why in Marlboro we stopped burning, was because of the testing requirements. That all ash had to be tested, because they used to take the ash and then mix it in with the compost, and that was stopped basically I stopped burning as soon as that guy that was in charge of the transfer station retired. We ceased it, and it cost money, because now it costs $5,000 to chip the brush or grind it up versus actually having to burn it. But once again, different era. He used to be there day and night and would burn all night long. And nowadays, if you ask somebody to do that, you pay them to do it. So it gets expensive. But yeah, as far as the testing goes, we had talked about at our transfer station in Marlboro, there was putting the milfoil and mixing that in with the compost. But we opted not to do that because we were worried that somebody might, not knowing everything about milfoil. So we actually took all of our milfoil to Spiderweb Gardens, and he uses it over there and had great success with it there, Bill Stockman, because high in nitrogen.
We need a vote on this.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Would we leave off?
I think we're looking for the vote.
yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
That's all right.
Unanimous,
Yes, I missed that.
Yeah.
despite Scott's
You get talking about-
interruption.
Be quiet.
Oh, sure.
Okay, now we're looking for a transfer of money from the trust funds into the general fund, to refuse the money from the general fund to pay for things that money's already been set aside in the,
Warrant articles,
yeah, well, into the either capital reserve funds or expendable trust funds. So
Right.
we've got a list, I came up with a grand total of $165,419.04. I don't know if anybody else
Oh, did you tell
had
them
them
that?
up or not,
Oh, okay.
but Scott had a list here.
Yeah, I think
Complete.
did you add the two previous ones that you had already signed as well?
I only did what you got here, which is the two
There's
previous.
only about 46,000.
I had attached, because this whole package is gonna go to the trustee of trust funds, and they haven't acted upon already on two of your, that you've already signed.
Are you running them through again?
I just have them in this packet, so I just didn't know if you had added
Oh.
those in as well, that's all. You'd already signed them at a previous meeting back in the spring, but the trustees had not met and voted on those and done the transfers. So I've put them back into this packet so that they, because I've talked with Dave Allen from the trustee of trust funds, and he's assured me that as soon as he gets this packet, that he's gonna rally the rest of the trustees together and have a meeting and take action. So I personally hadn't added them up, so.
I don't know, I look at your thing here, it doesn't add up to that amount.
No,
I think it should be,
I think I had,
Why did I get? HVAC is mine. No, look at that. Well, I guess I think I may have misspoke there.
yeah, I've got about 40-some odd thousand.
yeah, just shy of 50, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 46 or something, yeah.
Yeah. I just did it quick enough. I
But
think if you add
I
those
have
other two,
I have in another packet, I think there's a combination of things in this packet here. Because you also have 2015 Dodge 5500.
right, those are ones you had already previously
Prior ones,
acted
yeah.
on. They just
Right.
happened to be in with some other
Right.
actions that you
So,
took at the same time.
I made the conclusion that it was about a 46, roughly, $46,000.
Yeah, I did.
I thought that we needed to do it individually anyway,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think I would just,
because it goes to different lines and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I think I put together in the,
Well, just the RTF, for accrued benefits is, say, 20,000, 30, it's 50,000, then you get another 9. So it's 59,000, another 4. 3, yeah, so we should be more than that, but my number is definitely off.
I've got 2750 plus 9 plus 31.7
Yeah, 3974.
plus about 4.
Yeah.
So the accrued benefits isn't in this initial one. It isn't in the background stuff. Well, that was one of my questions actually, before we needed that. I wanted to see what the detail was on the accrued benefits piece.
More detail on the accrued benefits?
in the different from what's in the packet?
I,
You may have got, maybe you got short change on it.
yeah, I'm not sure that I've got all the copies here. Or maybe it's combined with
Copy of the
something
minutes,
else.
which actually breaks it down. In the minutes, actually it
Page
speaks
3
to
of
the
5.
breakdown.
Yeah, it's all pretty stuff here. Yeah, no, that part I saw, but I was looking for specific transfer requests on this.
Oh, from
Yeah,
a previous time.
well, or.
We haven't done that
this
one, have we?
What's that?
We have never made a request of that accrued benefits, have we?
You
Outside.
did, actually back, it hasn't actually happened within the actual budget itself.
Well,
But you actually have it here in August 15th, where we made the
right,
request for the expenditure.
but I mean, this is not one in addition to, this is the same.
No, this is to fulfill the payment to Carol for her accrued benefits for
Yeah.
retirement.
All
So,
the others came out of the operational fund? All the other ones came out of the
Yes.
operational?
Yeah, Mike Clark, he came completely out of highway
yeah,
budget. It was absorbed there. There wasn't enough money in the accrued benefits to take care of
Cover
it.
that, yeah.
Scott, the motion that you put together was motions signed with respective letters. Can we just do motion to send letters of request for transfer to the trustees of the accounts? You know, striking, sign the respective. Make a motion to send letters, plural, of request. Motion to send.
Maybe a motion to authorize.
Letters of request covers it.
Yeah,
So if we just said motion to send letters of request for transfer
yeah.
to the trustees of the trust funds. How's that, Sue?
And you don't have the $20,000 one. You don't have the accrued benefits one,
The letter itself,
the thing to sign, yeah?
It's in,
you got it over there?
it's right
Wasn't in
behind.
the packet, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't on the back?
Uh,
On the back, I think I double-sided it, that's the only thing I'm
I
saying.
looked through each one of them, I didn't see it.
This is, just slide it over this one so we can,
But this is the.
that's the one there that has it all in there, this one's, and there's two sheets there.
There it is.
It's on the back of this one for 2750. On the back side of that is 20,072.97.
All right, I'm gonna
Yeah. Okay.
start off with a motion to send letters of
That'll be
request
about 60.
for transfer to the trustees of the trust funds. These requests being the Public Safety Facilities Capital Reserve Fund, $2,750. Accrued benefits liability,
That should be.
ETF, should be ETF.
expendable trust fund of $20,000, $272.97. Then the town building improvements, $8,868, and $3,974.
Cross out the end.
Transfer station equipment, capital reserve fund, $31,755. I think that should do it.
I'll second that.
There's actually a piece missing here.
Is it?
Okay, it's town building improvements is the CRF, correct? Scott, that's the
Correct.
CRF number? Yeah. Or CRF name.
That's right.
You did say town building improvements, but the
Yeah.
CRF was missing.
Yeah,
from-
add the CRF after the town building
improvements,
improvements.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
All right, do I have a second?
Well, let's see, I'll make, okay, I'll second that with the amendment.
Well, it's not really an amendment, because I hadn't finished making that. We didn't second it, so we didn't.
Actually,
we
he
didn't-
already- he had already seconded it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Did I recognize it?
No.
Well, I don't like. All right, so now I get a second,
Okay.
right, from you?
Well, if, with the change,
Okay.
then I'll second it. Am I recognized now?
Any- Yep,
Okay, thank you.
discussion. Did you want to say anything?
No, I just want to be recognized.
Oh, okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Hi.
All right, that's
I
unanimous.
think the only packet that has two of them in it is the one that the chairman has
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
One right behind the other.
Do you have the official sign letters? Oh, you got them there? Okay.
That's it, okay, good. You get the rest of them, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm just making sure they're all here. Oh, I am missing one here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a minute. There's one. Okay, I have one for 2750. Is that one that's been, is that one of the ones that has been done earlier?
No, that's in here.
No, it's in the,
Oh, okay.
Do you have others to sign? or-
Yeah.
All those others, okay.
Yeah.
There.
I just want to make sure.
Underneath it, you got another one there, this is my thing.
Okay.
There's 2 pages.
Okay, I have, so we should have 5, is that correct?
I don't know, I give them all mine away,
I got one over here. You got 4 there?
3.
but there's two,
There's 2 here.
one is. one's
That's
a double,
right.
One's a double.
That's right. So that's 5.
There's still one more, we separated out, right?
Yes, well, there is for the trust, cemetery.
Cemetery,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to, I probably could, in some way, what's difficult with this whole process is in order to, prepare all the information for backup for the trustees and for finance, just so everything is covered in that process, is we actually have to wait till the expenditure actually ends up happening, and we get the invoice, that we get the canceled check, and that kind of stuff. That goes into the packet, so then I could probably, because the motions that we've been doing, at least as of recent, have included the language that says, yes, we authorize the trustees to make that. The only time you get into a variation is if something happens and that number happens to be, say you've had a couple of them not to exceed, so it has to be the exact amount to be withdrawn from there. So it can get a little tricky. It just causes one more step.
Yeah.
It's kind of repetitive in nature, but I think
Not a big deal.
I'd rather do it just to make sure we get all the checks and balances with it.
Okay. All right, the next thing we have is the fence.
The fence.
Just, Mr. and Mrs. Cook's fence on Birch Hill Road.
Yeah, as you recall, they were in a few weeks ago, after receiving a letter relative to the fence being in the right of way, and had given permission for either one or more of us to come by and visit them. And Greg went by and visited with them and viewed and measured relative to the boundary pins out there. Very similar to what I had seen and what our own staff had conveyed to us as well. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but.
No, I had a nice talk with Mr. Cook, very nice man. The only thing about this letter he's sending out, you're asking that it be removed within 45 days. What I would suggest is you call him in advance and ask him, would that meet with his schedule? Can he do it within 45 days? Because physically, someone's got to come out and move it for him and so forth. And can that be done in 45 days? We're going to be hitting, a period of time that might be difficult. So, he handled himself like a real gentleman. So I think we should return that favor and just ask him, is that something that could meet in your time frame?
I would shift the burden actually, and if it doesn't work out, then let us know.
Well, the only thing in this letter, it says, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact the town code enforcement officer, Peter Barney, and the town administrator, Scott.
Yep.
But, we're demanding that be done within 45 days.
Well,
Now,
year before last, we had snow October 31st.
Well, and that's my point. And I had a nice chat with him about that. I said that if we get a heavy snow, that fence is going to be down through the plowing. But I want to keep on a gentleman-like relationship back and forth. I don't want him to think that we're pushing this in the wrong direction for him. So, that would be my only concern.
There is additional piece here there are two things. One is there are some typos here that we need to take care of, but I can cover those separately with you. But because of the situation, and no disrespect to Greg in terms of what he did, because I think it was a good situation that you went to chat with him and understand it. But given the situation, I would like to see a very defined report from our DPW people, specifically the DPW director, relative to specific measurement details on file before we send the letter.
Why not do both?
Pardon?
I think, I don't disagree with that, except I think it's timely to
I don't have a problem
send the
with,
letter.
I don't have a problem with calling him and saying, listen, this is our initial findings, we're developing a final report, we're looking at roughly 45 days, is that something, I don't have a problem with doing that. in the town files, a very specific measurement detail on this one.
You mean how it was done?
Well.
My recollection is I
what they are.
have
No, I
to
know
quote
what
my
you're saying.
file, but I believe
Yeah,
I
you understand what
already
I'm
have
saying?
that.
It's not, has nothing to do with.
No,
what-
no, I know what you're saying.
I don't.
But you understand what,
Yeah.
so, again, it should be like an hour's worth of work or half hour's worth of work, but,
I think it's already been done.
it could have been. I just want a written, detailed to file of what the details are on the measurements before this is officially sent. But as I said, currently, I don't have a problem with contacting and saying our initial findings are that,
That's right.
as you know, that there are some issues with it, and we will need to send a letter to you. We were looking at 45 days. Is that something that, you know, if it's even doable? If he says, no, I need 50, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
If he says 3 months or 6 months, then that's a little problem, but.
I don't understand the measurement part. You want the DPW director, I assume,
Yeah,
to do something in writing. What
to
exactly?
the,
That's what I'm trying to
to the
understand.
town files,
To the town
to our
files.
files.
And
So we
that
have
consists of
written
what?
documentation.
Consists of what the center line to the fence measurements are and all that kind of stuff. In other words, what are the details which cause this to be a problem?
Oh, okay.
You know,
So, yeah.
specific
which I
measurements of what the details are.
do believe Scott does have that already.
I suspect he does. I just want it formalized.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, we're going to, it looks like the two of you want to hold this back a little bit,
Right.
and it looks like you want somebody to make a phone call, which would be.
Scott can make the phone call and just tell him,
Got his phone number?
I'm sure he does.
I don't know, do you?
I don't know if I do. but-
It's getting to be a hard
I
thing.
believe I do, yes, I do, because I have I have a whole file on it.
Yeah.
Peter gave me a whole file.
Oh, all right.
I got all the applications and
All right, so-
every time the DPW went out.
So the Board of
They did a
Selectmen want
report.
Scott to make a call.
Yeah, I'll let him know what the
Yeah.
finding is.
Yeah.
He's to expect a letter,
Yeah.
you know, and
We
if he
need, we need a
can't.
specified number of days, and we were looking at 45. Is
Yeah.
that something that, you know, he
I
believes
think,
is
I
doable?
think there's a couple difficult things you just want to be cautious about is, I understand trying to work with people and be flexible and that kind of stuff is, but when you have something that's constructed in your right of way and you continue to, I mean, granted, I think a court would look at it to say, this is reasonable. 45 days is a reasonable time period in order to do that. To provide extensions, other options, type of thing there, I think that you subject yourself to the liability.
Right.
So if a car goes off the road or a guy riding a motorcycle goes off the road and he hits a fence or hits the fence and you have given extension to him, potentially you can be party to the litigation of that.
Yeah.
I think to give him,
But
remove it, if he doesn't, then you know, you
Yeah, but
just
the issue here,
work through it
Scott,
gently.
I agree with you, and your point's well taken. The issue here is that 45 days was an arbitrary number that was derived. I think what Greg is doing, and I don't have a problem with it, is that he's just saying, rather than arbitrarily pick 45, maybe he needs 50. As I said, if it gets into 2, 3, 4 months, that's a whole different issue, and that has to be drawn the line. But, you know, what we're saying is that, listen, we're looking to put 45 days in, you know, can you live with that? We can't extend it much beyond that, but before we officially nail that number, we'd like to have your understanding that that's what we're gonna say.
All right.
This is a courtesy.
Generally, these letters act as this is what we need done, because we already sent a letter like this
Right.
once, already for 45 days. And
I
what
mean,
happens, if there's a problem, then you take that last sentence there and you say, oh, I'm gonna call the town administrator and say, you know, I got a problem with the 45-day thing. That's how this generally works. But if you folks wanna do it the other way, we can do it the other way, right, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, one phone call won't slow
I
us up.
actually thought about saving, I've already sent this once. I just thought about just driving over to his house and giving it to him. Filling out a service form, just like a police officer would on the bottom, and say, you know, and have a conversation at the same time, which is
Yeah, but
friendly
I
in nature and
I
maybe.
think you wanna
just-
send this by certified mail, so you have confirmation that's received.
I would think that my notice of service on the bottom of the signature would be just as good, but I could bring a witness with me. But
Bring Greg.
I used to
I'll
serve,
come with
I used to serve papers all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
You
not,
get- you
this
just
is
get
not
subpoenaed
unusual
for
for
it.
you, but you had a gun and a badge.
Have them
Okay.
sign for it.
But, you
So
know,
anyways,
Have the written report on file before.
Right, and if there's
I'll
any,
get you the
if there's any
typos.
edits
Yeah.
on that, if you could leave them for me, and I will
I'll
then
get
leave
you-
it for your
I'll make a
signature.
copy before I go.
Okay.
I have the exact measurements when I was out there with him. So I've
Yeah,
got
and
that
I'll
also,
just, if
but
I
I
can
think
just
we should,
get those, I'll double check them with what was provided in the report.
from the Department of Works, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I've identified his and my common corner. So I've identified that with flagging and.
Oh, you
In fact, I
did?
went out and bought- I found the other,
That's right. You want-
And you said it was,
Common corner.
it was like 20 feet from his fence or more?
oh yeah, yeah,
Into the woods a little bit.
well, I call it more brush.
Okay, into the brush. But more than 20 feet from his fence?
It's all flagged out, you drive by, you'll see it.
Okay, good. The other one was.
I flagged out a number of the boundary markers because of they did culvert work out there.
Okay.
All right, what do we got next? Cemetery, is that it?
Yep.
They want money too?
They've been working on a couple projects for a period of time here, and
Yeah.
looking to do a couple projects, one being doing some survey work, and then secondarily doing a monument up there for their ash garden.
Yeah.
And with that, they'll need to withdraw those funds from the reserve fund.
So this can be done prior to the purchase, as opposed to what we've been doing?
This comes out,
Yeah, this will come from the actual, from the
Shirley Trust Fund.
reserve Shirley actual trust fund.
But they don't have to expend from a general fund like we do on the,
Yeah, I mean, we'll be doing it from the general fund. The problem that I found is afterwards is they don't, with all the other ones that we do, I guess we'd actually withdraw from the actual account that way. But these are just to have you sign the purchase orders along with me. I mean, they're all within the purview of the town administrator signing them. But on the other hand, I also said, I'm not the agent to expend from that fund. And if you were to have, didn't like what the trustees and I had done, then I don't know that I have that authority to spend money other than from the general fund and general ledger versus, so I thought it'd be best to go through the motions here, have you be fully aware, have you signed the purchase orders with me? I've already signed them and given them to Michelle, but I think that I think it just keeps things nice and clean, and then when we go to make the request from the trustee and trust fund, we'll do another letter packet and along with the
Oh, okay.
backup of materials.
Michelle, did you want to comment?
No, that sounds fine, you know, we have,
Michelle's been very patient with me, so I
we've been
appreciate it.
looking for a long time, you know, for the surveying work, trying to find surveyors, and we finally gotten a couple there, and the same thing with the monument companies. The difference in prices were unbelievable, and yeah, and so we want to get moving on it now if we can.
All right, then I won't hold up any more of your time.
Just a key question that I want to make sure that, and it's formality really, is that the use of these two purchases aligns with the trust fund guidelines, I'm assuming?
Yes, we've run it by the trustees of the trust fund already, and they approved it.
So, yeah, I have no problem.
All right, I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to issue purchase order number 2341 in the amount of $1,200 to Prospect Mountain Survey of Alton, New Hampshire, for the purposes of cemetery survey work at the John C. Shirley Cemetery. Said expenditure coming from the John C. Shirley Cemetery Site Improvements account number 001-4915-10-077. And furthermore, request the trustee that'd be plural, of the trust funds to transfer said funds to the general fund.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a first and second by Swens. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's unanimous. All right, the second one is, motion is to authorize the town administrator to issue purchase order number 2342 in the amount of $2,100 to Steve Roy Memorials and Markers of Rochester, New Hampshire, for the purposes of a granite monument to be installed at the John C. Shirley Cemetery. Said expenditure coming from the John C. Shirley Cemetery Site Improvements account number 001-4915-10-077, and furthermore request the trustees of the trust funds to transfer said funds to the general fund. That all sound good? I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Greg seconds that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'm gonna just, for the formality purposes, you'll see the sign things there, have you co-sign on those with me, and that way when we get ready to do that, so, go to these tabs
So you
here.
made those little
I just put 3
changes.
lines on each one of those.
Gotcha.
There's also another copy behind it, the more copies I can have, it's easier doing the paperwork later on. It's just a copy of it.
Okay.
I know you give them a copy to show.
Did you? There it is. There it is. Oh, he gives us rates and everything, that's nice.
That's it. Do we have more signed stickers here than we need?
There should be 4, he's making copies, that's why there's 4 rather than just 2.
I need to sign the copy?
And he wants it that way.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing is the New Hampshire Department of Transportation apparently needs something on a municipal work zone agreement so they can pave. Does that sound right, Scott?
Yeah, they are actually, they sent a letter advising that they will begin a resurfacing project on Route 11, beginning at the Alton Town line and running south to the Farmington Town line. And during that time period, they're going to be doing also drainage work along the way and doing a 1.5-inch resurfacing wearing course on the entire roadway itself. They'll be doing some temporary lane closures to permit bridge joint work and cold planing at the same time. And they're asking you to enter into a municipal work zone agreement for the purposes of traffic control during the project itself, and that they may and would be using only folks that are either flag company certified and flagger certified, and/or uniformed police officers that also have that same level of training and certification as well that way. So it's a federal funded project along with state funds according to the two project numbers that are on it. And this is a requirement generally of most of those projects, is to have that memorandum and have that understanding.
All right, I'll make a motion to enter into a municipal work zone agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation for state project number 40870 and federal project number X-A004512 for the purposes of traffic control, authorization, and participation.
I'll second that.
All right, Swen seconds that. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous.
There's three, I think there's 3 copies there.
Next order of business is the policy committee. We've had a request to have a committee to review police, fire, and Department of Public Works department policies.
I got, oh.
No, go ahead.
Okay. This was an agreement with the 5 participants in this lawsuit against the town of New Durham and the 2 selectmen. And part of this was one, well, we were working on that, and that's the fire station participation in the community room. And then the other portion of this is, and you'll have to excuse me, this is what was given to me. And I finally, no, I finally got one.
Okay, well, this is
from the attorney.
Yeah, I did, yeah, a month and a half ago, I did finally say, I want a true copy of it from what was listed. And then reading that, I said, well, we've got to move along on at least, not only all of them, but this one that we'd like to get wrapped up before the end of the year, if possible. So I called Scott and I said, what I'd like you to do is start researching and making copies of the different policies that we have for the police department, the fire department, and the highway department. And then this also said that there would be 3, we agreed upon the first 3 members being myself as, I guess, the selectman representative, Mrs. Waldron, and Susan Randall. And then we're supposed to pick 2 others. And Scott and I kicked this around for a while, and the Board of Selectmen needs to make this appointments of the two. And what we came up with, and I'd like a little discussion with some of you, we thought what would be best for the other two would be a representative from the police department, a representative from the fire department. So when this group is working on this, we'd have two experts explaining how they came up with those policies. And so I'm going to ask the Board of Selectmen tonight to recommend that we get with Police Chief Bernier and Fire Chief Varney and ask them who they would want to represent the police department and the fire department on this committee. And I also asked Scott if he could, when he made these copies of these three different departments, to send them out as soon as possible in the next week to the other, well, send me a copy also, but send the other two to Waldron and Randall and myself. And then when the Board of Selectmen can get two recommendations from the police department and the fire department, we'd go ahead, and then we're going to have to start meeting with this committee, start working on if we want to make changes or not. And then with those changes, those go to the Board of Selectmen and for their recommendation if they want to accept it or not, or and work on this. But I thought it was important that we had, in a sense, two experts from the two major departments, police and fire, on their policies.
All right, you want them to be members of the committee?
That's right.
All right, now do you want some feedback? So let's throw that out and see what kind of feedback you get.
Yeah, I mean, we're ultimately responsible to find those.
You sounded like you want some feedback. So
but that's exactly what I
good
want.
opportunity to open up
Yeah,
a little feedback.
Well, maybe you want feedback from the selectmen first. That is one way to look at it, but I would always have looked at the point that the fire department and the police department and DPW would be a resource to that committee regardless, and they would be dialoguing with that individual. And so I would prefer actually independent members of that, two other independent members on that committee, recognizing they would use the resources of the police department and the fire department and the Department of Public Works. If you only do police and fire, DPW gets short-shifted there. So for me, it makes no sense to do that. But as I said, I made the assumption, as I would have organized and run the committee, that logically that other people might do the same, and that is you would call on the resource of the fire department and call on the resource of the police and call on the resource of DPW as you addressed each of those policies to get that input that you may need for background and other information.
All right, can I move on to Sue Randall?
I think Swens has a good point.
Okay, Clayton?
Well, he's not on the
He's
committee.
not on
I'm
the
not on the
committee.
committee, but I got some input.
Well, that's why I'm asking. You can have some input.
Haven't some of the fire policies already been established since June 30th? They have.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense to involve them in this again.
Right, because you weren't supposed to do anything without the committee. You're supposed to have the committee before June 30th, and now you've already set the new policy.
Well, we're talking about what we're gonna do. Now,
Right.
do you want,
Right.
you don't like Greg's idea, or you do like his idea? That's yes or no?
Do you think that the fire chief should be involved in reviewing the policies?
Well, he would be a member.
He would appoint what we thought I'm not sure if we want the police chief and the fire chief to be involved directly, but I thought it would be helpful to have their
It'd be better to have neutral parties.
expertise there.
I think, like Dave said, they're a resource we can go to. We could invite them to a meeting if we have questions we need to ask them or work with them for a short span. But to have them as a permanent member of the committee, it seems almost like it's rigging it in different directions.
All right, you agree with that, Clayton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mike, you want any input on it?
Other than supporting what's already been said, I agree.
You agree?
The fire department, well, all three departments, again, I think the DPW would get short shifted included, but I think there's enough demand on these people's time, and they've already been involved in all the policy discussions, developing them. I think this review committee is just that, review committee.
I'm not looking at the three of you mainly. Do you have suggestions of who you would like?
Honestly, I don't.
I don't, I just think it needs, if possible, somebody who has some background in this or some experience.
Clayton?
See, again, this wasn't brought up until tonight. It should have been brought up a long time ago.
And I think it.
We haven't had
I think
a
it's
lot of
because-
time to think
All
about
right,
it.
and I think it had probably something to do with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
All right, so the preference is not to go down those lines, release these folks, which is, they're important.
Can I,
When is your next meeting?
Hmm?
When is your next
Monday.
meeting? Oh,
Yeah.
Monday. And then, right.
I-
What I was thinking is if we could have like maybe 10 days or 2 weeks to
I-
put some feelers out and kind of think on it, because like I said, tonight's the first I heard about it,
Right.
that this was actually going forward.
We've been waiting, and
So-
we brought this up a month ago.
Okay, but.
All right, well, let's not
yeah.
keep going back.
No,
I was gonna mention Mark maybe, and Cecile Chase.
We discussed it when we first came to this agreement, and I can only speak for myself, although I think Cecile's in the same boat. We're already pretty much overextended on a lot of things we're involved in, so we were hoping to get some input.
You would prefer not to be there?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't post it or seek volunteers?
Seek volunteers, yes, we certainly can try to do that, yeah. I was hoping that somebody would have come forward by now. Dot Vizel.
How about a former fire chief or a former, I can't think of a former police chief, but I'm thinking of there are several former fire chiefs who would be familiar with the needs of the department. Brad Myrick's,
I think Brad might do it.
Brad might do it. I can't think of anyone who could be, to represent the police. Mike Clark might be willing to do Department of Public Works.
Okay, those are thoughts. Scott?
I just for clarification purposes, basically, I offered up a couple different scenarios.
Yeah.
And the scenario being the one that Greg offered up, which was grabbing one of those folks that has that kind of a background. And, Dot brings up a good point. If you had somebody else that has some background in those areas, it's very helpful. First of all, there's only policies that are in place now for the police department and for the fire department. There are no policies relative to the
highway
public
department.
works or highway department. So there's no policies there to review in that situation there. So the other two people, if in fact they had either fire or police background, certainly would be a little bit more because this way I read the document is it's a review and to provide comment, and it's not to rewrite the policies, it's not to edit the policies, it's not to do any of those types of things, it's to bring concerns relative to the policies or things that maybe need to be re-looked at or updated, clarified, and that report actually comes to me as a town administrator that then goes to the Board of Selectmen with potentially some action type items that they could then take from there. That's the way I read that document. So I don't, I think, having somebody that has no knowledge, I think is not a bad thing as well, because they may see or feel things that, may be there, but somebody that does have the background may be able to say, geez, it'd be maybe something else to look at would be to look at this process with these steps versus the steps in which you're taking now.
May I ask a question?
Scott.
What's the time commitment of this?
End of the year.
How much time is gonna be required to go through this process?
I don't know.
1 meeting, 5
What was
meetings,
it?
10 meetings?
We don't know.
We don't know.
I mean,
How many policies are there?
the policies for the fire department, I mean, I don't know, I booked probably, it's a 2-inch binder that has policies in it. The police department has a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new because they're in transition, and the interim police chief and Chief Bernier have been working on using accredited policies as they've been updating them, going through that process. So there's a little bit of both in there, but it's about the same amount, I would guess, give or take.
To answer his question, I don't mean to keep beating it in the ground, but we've already lost 6 months.
Yeah, well, that's
Well, that was the issue.
past that, so
Well,
we are where we are.
I think part of the problem has been, nobody seems to be coming forward. Nobody volunteered to do that, any of the
Well,
work.
It was up to you guys.
That you
to-
have
I can't make
It
people,
was up
I
to you guys to
can't
answer
make
this.
people do it.
I think it's terrible that we have to continue to find fault, and I understand, and you can throw all the rocks you want at me, because I didn't bring it back to the table for these guys to get after, but let's take some action and move forward. I'm all about moving
We only
forward.
got- we only got a
Well,
few
the issue,
months.
the issue.
But
to
you
be
know
fair-
what? If
to
it
be
doesn't
fair,
get
the
done
issue is-
by the end of the year, it's
that
not
the
done.
mediation agreement had May 1 as the initiation of the committee date. Due to the inaction of the Board of Selectmen, that now is 5+ months later.
Yeah.
So to have the expectation that a January 1 conclusion date can be achieved may be
I don't think you're held to that, to be perfectly honest with you. You're only
mediation,
held to it-
mediation agreement was that.
I understand that, but the mediation agreement, if in fact people want to find fault with it, which they could, clearly, then they petition the court to say that the town has not taken efforts or good faith in order to follow the mediation agreement. So they petition the court in order to bring that back to the table and say, shame on you, you didn't do it, let's get going on it. And I
Scott,
think
did
now
you-
we're showing that we're trying to get going on it, so let's move forward, and I don't think you're bound. I think we want to set up a time period that's realistic. And I would ask the committee that when they convened, to look at what they had before them and try to establish a schedule and a timeline in order to complete it. Because I would not want to say to them, hey, listen, you got to have this thing done by the end of the year. I don't.
That's my point, is that.
Yeah,
the
I don't
inaction
think
of
you
the Board
have
of
to.
Selectmen, the mediation agreement had January 1st, to now maintain that date is, I think, unfair to the committee, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Well, we can extend, I think this committee, once they get working on this, they can determine if they can do it at the end of the year or not. If they can't, then the committee's gonna say, we can't reach this date because we don't have enough information, we don't have much time, we need more information, and extend the date. I don't have a problem with any of that. My concern was, who are the other two that we get?
Right.
And I thought when Scott and I talked, that would have been a good solution. If the other members aren't comfortable with that, that's fine with me. Then we'll go out and find 2 people, novice people, if you want to phrase it that way, and have them come aboard. I think we understand though, we as a committee, we're laymen in this. We're going to have to bring somebody in from the current fire department to see why these policies are the way they are right now. And in the same way with the police department, you get a person that's been out of the police force for 5-10 years. If you look at the policies, those policies are almost changing as we speak. So we want somebody current on this, so we clearly understand what they're doing, not only in the past and now, but what they need to do in the future. So that's why the two of us, when we were kicking this around a month or so ago, who do we want to get on this committee? That's what I thought would be a good group, 2 people to have aboard, because the highway department doesn't have policy, and get somebody current that's working on them now over there, so we can clearly understand why these policies are made this way. And that was my thinking on this. If you get somebody that, like I said, that hasn't been doing this for a long time, these policies change, and they've got to keep up with them, both the fire and the police. And we saw that with the reports of the MRI report and all, and they're even changing now. If you look at the state and federal, the requirements of police departments on pursuit and shooting and so forth changes. So I wanted to get this, so we have the people on the ground that knows what's going on, to explain to the other 3 board members why we did this policy this way. And that was my thinking on it. I'm very flexible on this, but I think if you get 2 more novice people, it's just gonna take a longer time. That was my thinking. It's whatever your suggestions are. The board of selectmen are the ones that make the decision for those 2 people. And I thought, it's hard enough to fill in other committees. Mark brought up, a lot of people are very busy and so forth. So I thought it would move this along if we got 2 experts from the 2 different departments.
Well, sounds like there's a
Can I make
demand.
a brief suggestion?
Yes.
That the board, or whoever's in charge of forming the committee, put a public meeting out, put public notice out for a week, or maybe 10 days.
Yeah, a week or two.
Call for volunteers for this committee, describe as best you can what the committee is going to be, as best you estimate how long, time commitments, etc. So
Anything-
volunteers know what they're getting into,
You interested? We cut down on the paperwork.
maybe.
Swens, you interested?
Well, no, I think,
No.
I think the point
It
has
should
been
be
made.
two boards like
Yeah, I think the point has been made that.
Give it 10 days. If nobody shows up, if you get no volunteers, then you go with Greg's recommendation, get the committee going.
Well, actually, Scott was the one that
Or
I thought
you
was a
have
good
additional
idea,
inputs.
and I agreed with him.
Yeah, I
Now,
don't.
this is the
think-
first, you know, as I
Don't
said,
delay it
we had mentioned
a
it
long
one
time.
time
Get
before.
moving.
We had mentioned it one time before in the meeting, but with no real,
Public
you know,
out.
planned activity on it. So this is really the first time the board has addressed it, to be honest with you, which is a
He
little bit
said
concerning.
here month after month, listen to you, try to set policy on the community room, everything else, and then this was never brought up.
Well,
That's what's
I actually
surprising.
brought it up once during that process, but that's not the point. The point here is, and Scott's point is that we are where we are. We are where we are, so let's move it in a positive direction and go from there. And I think the point that the other Scott made, which is kind of consistent with what was made overall, is that allow, you know, a reasonable period, 6 to 8 days, whatever it is, to formulate exactly what the committee is going to do, what the plan, what the initial thought process is on how much time commitment and all that, and then go from there.
We just
Pardon?
get some free press.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a little free press
that, my friend?
for Mark as far as being able to put something in there and I can help fill in the
We could put it on the town website also.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's worth trying.
oh,
If we
Yeah.
can't, we have
no-
a fallback, but, you know, this hasn't been made public, really, that any action was
I've never
coming.
heard of it.
Well, that's why we're
And so
talking about it
I
tonight.
think we need to give it a couple weeks to
Yeah.
try and get somebody else before we say that nobody's interested.
Okay, so,
I
again,
have a quick question.
Oh, we have a volunteer.
I get the email blasts about things that are going on in town. How many email addresses do you have?
It's actually in that? I have no idea. I can find out though, because I think I can go to the virtual town hall and schools and find out how many people have registered that way. I've started to use that more and more now with notices and trying to get that out. I found it was a very effective tool in Moultonborough by putting it out on the news and announcements and having that go out on their email blast. So it just takes people from signing up. So it works pretty well that way. I think it works better than.
Once something is posted on the town website, there are various Facebook, etc., town things where you can post it there.
Just-
Many people find out about it, and assuming if it's not noted in the paper about it.
Just so we understand, I mean, what I envision is that this would be a very brief thing indicating the scope of the work, very brief statement of scope of work, and we're talking like a sentence. Projected time commitment,
Much more in there.
the projected time commitment, and the sunset date. You know what I mean by sunset date, right?
And
Yeah.
The other thing, while he's making this up, can some sort of formal statement be made to the public that these two
Well, that's what I'm
lawsuits have
saying.
been settled? We asked for that a month ago. Nobody said anything about any lawsuits being settled or anything. So a lot of these people out here think we still got some going.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
do what?
I thought there was still a lawsuit.
And now don't play dumb on me, David, either.
Okay.
And Scott, quite honestly, we've let this ride because did you really want us to file another lawsuit with more legal fees?
oh no,
So,
Right.
yeah, you know,
You said we could have, and
it
we
was
didn't.
in your ballpark.
I was just explaining what the process is, and I'm not, you
We
know.
could have done that. There was a couple of us that wanted to do that too. I'll tell you.
You haven't made as much noise about this as you have
We
a lot of other things.
purposely
If I could,
waited.
my understanding when we left was that we were not allowed, or shouldn't say anything until the town announced something, which is
Right.
why.
There's been
Yes.
no town
Yeah.
announcement.
Until what?
To the lawsuit, whether they've been settled or not.
That was official. This
Not for
actually,
what?
I think this is the first time I've seen the actual court document, by the way. It was in the packet tonight. I think you're in the same, well, you may have seen it
Well,
a week or so ago, but this is the first time I've seen the official court document. I had the, draft stuff that we worked through. So this is the actual first time I've seen the official court document was in this packet.
You
And
know,
yet this was done back in
signatures are
April.
up top.
Wait till he gets done.
So I think the issue is, and I think we were under the same scenario, is that we needed the official, we were under the town council guidelines that wait for the official court document to be filed, and then,
Go from there.
note that the settlement has happened. That's the first time I've seen the official court document, which now then says, maybe we should put out a press release saying the town has settled all outstanding lawsuits. And maybe that's the way to do it.
That's this week anyway.
Pardon? Yes,
David and
That's
Greg's
it.
signatures are on the top of that letter.
All right.
It might sound selfish on my part, and I'll explain what I did.
No, no,
What I did was I tried to chip
Wait,
away.
Clayton.
That's all.
We're all
Wait.
trying to minimize.
Wait, did you finish what you were gonna say, Scott?
No, I was just saying that alls I was trying to do is I've been trying to chip away at this.
right.
And chipping away at it is a couple different things. It was about 3 points in this main mediation lawsuit situation. One was to define some town property issues relative to the chair issue that surrounded the community center from 2015. And that's been a work in progress relative to the community room and use of the community room and the equipment which is in the community room. So that's an ongoing process it's at right now. And then the citizen complaints against the performance of town employees is another item that was also called out within that item, and that's been ongoing. Now those were two little easier tasks versus actually assembling the committee amongst doing everything else at the same time. Selfishly, shame on me, you guys can spank me, take money away from me, whatever you want to do, but, I mean, I'll take all the hits, but we're gonna move this along, I'm just. in the
Scott, let
process
me make
of-
it sure, Scott, let me make sure that,
Whoa,
let me make sure that you understand my position anyway, Scott. I think you pointed out well that those three things were the key pieces, two dimensions plus the committee now that we're talking about. At no time, and I still don't, have any belief that you are the one that's accountable for that. I think it's the Board of Selectmen has joint responsibility for not addressing it in a timely manner, but that's the way the facts are right now. It's not you, it's us. So the point there is that here's where we are. We're now trying to form that committee, recognizing that we're probably going to have to ask for some flexibility on the end date, given the start point. Similarly, putting it from the flip side of the suit, mediation table, this is the first time they've seen any official action, so they'd probably need a little bit of time to think about. Sure. Now we have to put this committee together, and now we see some action from the board that says we're getting serious and moving it forward. So I think the appropriate thing is give them, as I said, 7
I
days,
agree,
8 days,
100%.
whatever it is, put it together, finalize, as long as we find some common ground that the end date has some flexibility in it, I don't see an issue.
Yeah, I mean,
I have found during these many lawsuits we have, I shouldn't say many, we've had, well, we've had 4 in a sense, 2 with Bernier directly and 2 with this citizens, the 5 citizens that sued the town and the 2 selectmen. Theirs was, in a sense, 2 parts. The one part was thrown out immediately because they didn't have standing. The second part, when it went to mediation, basically said the selectmen have a right to govern. But we also added their concerns in the mediation. And so we put down several different paragraphs. And like I said, we signed this is what we signed. And it's handwritten. Everybody signed off on it, then it changed a little bit, then everybody initialed off on it. And from there, it did not settle the lawsuit. None of these lawsuits are settled until these are sent to the courts.
Right.
The courts have time to look it over and then send it out. There's a time frame there that's lengthy. And I know at a lot of these meetings, we appear that we can't answer things. One is because we don't know if it's come back from the courts, they've approved it, and it has come back from the courts. And how we find out about that, at least from what I've seen, is our attorney then gets a copy from the courts,
Right.
and they send it on to us. This delay is unbelievable. And
It's been at least 2 months, I would say.
I'm not speaking of this particular one. I physically did not get a typed copy of this from the courts. I got it when I asked Scott about it. Do we have this? Is this done? Is it typed out?
You got your signatures on here, Greg.
Is it typed out? Has it gone to the courts? Has the courts approved it, and has it come back to us from the courts? I got that actual document just less than a month ago.
The letter
all
from
right.
saying that it had been.
That's correct.
Gosh, I left mine at home, but I think it's been about 2.5 months.
I'm not saying you didn't get yours a little earlier. I'm just saying when I got mine. And we've talked about, some of this representation that we're getting. So I'm not trying to make excuses by any means, but when I found out the dates on this and so forth, I called Scott up and I said, is this back from the courts? And if it is, do we have a typed out copy of that with the courts accepting it? And he finally sent me one.
Yep.
I shouldn't say finally, that's not fair to Scott. I said, may I see the actual copy of it? And when I reread it, I said, we've got to move along on some of these. We had been working on some of them already, like Scott had mentioned. But this one is a little more complicated because, there's three board members that were already picked. Then the Board of Selectmen is supposed to pick the other two. Well, I think we should do a little due diligence, I thought, and get experts as far as I'm concerned. And that's when Scott and I sat down, when he had time and I had time, and said, what would your suggestion be on this? Do we just go out and find 2 more novice people? Or do we get 2 experts? We discussed this. I said, I understand we have policies of the fire department, policies of the police department, but I said, I don't think we have policies of the highway department. And Scott said, you're absolutely right. So I said, then we should focus in on those 2. Now, I thought, and Scott was in agreement, we both agreed about it, is that what I thought would be best, and you voted me down on this or didn't want to do it this way, that we'd get the 2 experts from the 2 departments that have been working on the policies currently, and they're continually working on these policies. Those, to me, would be the people to get on this board. But if that isn't where you want to go, that's fine.
We're going to give the opportunity for some other people to come forward. And if that doesn't happen, then we'll
Ask the police chief and the fire chief to give us
We'll name
suggestions.
We look at it.
Yeah.
give somebody an opportunity to come forward again.
Okay. I'm good.
So, moving on. Now, you had 911?
No, just quickly, a follow-up. In response to the comment, it may be worthwhile, and it may be part of what your report is for this meeting, but it may be worthwhile to make a blanket statement that the town of Durham has settled all, put some additional words to it, but the town of Durham has settled all outstanding lawsuits. It may be worthwhile for all of the public to know that officially.
Yep.
So, just as an FYI, few sentences is all that's needed.
Yep.
Okay. Put it on the website, or I probably don't want to put it on the website, but put it somewhere and it can be publicized. Okay. All set.
So we're at 8, are we?
Yep. Scott, yes?
No, we're at 911, we're at H.
Yeah, so previously, the 911, through the 911 notification system, which is each town needs to have two designated officials. One is a primary, one is a backup. And previously, how that was set up was the land use person, well, back years ago, it used to be the police department. I think Katie Woods was actually the primary, and then I think either Jen or Kathy Orowitz was the backup, and then it moved around. So it's moved around to a couple different folks. So in the last sequence, it was the land use person, Melissa, had been listed as the primary, and then the secondary was Laura. And now we need to update that. And so we moved that to Laura and then Karen Keogh at Highway. Because we found through that process is through the driveway permits and also coordination and checking and measuring, lots of times the highway is called upon in order to assist in that fashion. So it seemed appropriate to use her as the backup because there's conversation back and forth that ends up happening. So with that, they need to have a new form signed with the new contact information. So Laura is listed and Karen is listed. They both signed it. They both agreed to it, and it needs to be signed by the board chair.
They have training in terms of what to do, given a certain
They're
call, right?
actually, yes, they, actually, Laura actually went through that process now. Karen will.
Okay.
It's basically a webinar type
Yeah.
of thing there online. And Laura has the file here that actually came from the police department over from what Katie had done.
Okay.
And it's over here. She has that information, but it seems that conduit appears to work fairly well.
That covers the optimum number of days, so the
Yep.
most number of
in that
days, I guess.
process.
Okay, good.
So if, motion to have
Got a
the
motion?
chairman to sign the 911 authorization, user authorization form.
Okay, so moved.
Second?
Chairman,
Any
chairman.
further
sign.
discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
moving to old business, New Durham Fire Station Community Room.
You sign it?
I don't know.
Did you sign
Yeah,
it?
just a quick vote.
Yes.
You want to look at it?
No, I just want to make sure it's signed.
Well,
I don't have that with me for some reason.
this one?
Yeah, I don't know why I don't.
Well, I've made some changes
Okay.
and deletions, so I don't know if you want to talk about that or not, or.
Yeah, take a few minutes.
You want to postpone this and make this part of the committee?
Well, this is a part of the committee.
Committee room facility policy could be, it's part of the policies.
Well, it's a Selectmen policy as opposed to a fire department policy, which is, so it's not under their purview.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they couldn't look at it.
Well,
They can look at anything.
They can look- that's exactly the
You can
point.
create an ad hoc committee. and-
Yeah, yeah. We're not keeping anything from anybody.
But what do you got, Gary? Give us at least a rundown of what you.
Well, you know, we keep, you know, I took the time to ask them, who built the community room? What was it originally for, and so forth. And what I got was, it was built for the Fire and Police Training Center. That's what it was originally built for. And then it slowly moved into other people using it. And then we started, later on, my understanding is, years later, then they started calling it, because other people were using it also, it was added from the Fire and Police Training Center to a community room. And I think that's a great idea. That's, you know, we can use it more than just the fire and police training. But the sole purpose of it was mainly the fire department training of its cadets and so forth. The police used it in the past also for their training and so forth. It's really a wonderful facility. I mean, the community, when we used it for
What are your changes you're talking
Oh,
about?
I'm sorry, okay.
I don't wanna belabor it too much.
Okay, so we call it now, the heading is the Town of New Durham Community Room Facility Use Policy. And then further down, facility use, you call it the new Durham Fire Station Community Room. So I've always learned that you keep things consistent. And so if you're gonna call it, down here, the New Durham Fire Station Community Room, then it should be in the heading of it also, up here. It's not a major change.
Oh, you've made that change already?
Yeah.
Okay.
New Durham Fire Station Community Room Facility Use Policy. Okay.
So you've
So-
already changed the name?
So that's the top of it then. Then you go to the purpose, and it says provide guidance for usage of the room, determine the content, ownership of furniture, and maintenance of the space and furnishings. Well, we've already worked this out about the ownership of the furniture now. The fire department association has turned over the 45 chairs and the tables, and that is now New Durham property, and that's in that room. So anybody can use those pieces of equipment. So I don't think that needs to be put in there anymore. And so.
If not, it would need to be documented somewhere.
Well, I think.
I don't want somebody coming back and say you didn't do it.
No, well, I think they can easily send a letter to the town of New Durham that they're turning over this 45 chairs, which they've already verbally done, and the 6 8-foot tables, and so forth. So that doesn't need to be in here, because that could be used by anybody that comes into that community room. As we go down on here, it does describe, and this was part of the original problem, I think, that there can only be 45 persons in that room for occupancy. And so that's listed in here, which I think is fine. But they go into more of the town-owned chairs and the 6 plastic folding tables. I'm not sure if that goes in this policy, because if we add more tables, or if we add something, then you have to go back to this and change it. So I'm not sure. Well, that's my thinking. If you want to leave that in there, it's fine.
Okay.
Then we talk about the fire department maintains an AV cart with a television DVD. And this requires fire department permission for use. Well, they own that.
Are you saying these things should be in a memorandum as opposed to a policy?
Sure. And then we go down to the the use of the kitchen. Shall we have in this decide on a case-by-case basis by the fire chief and town administrator, his or her designees? Now, that's fine. Then the next thing is, then fees may be assessed for the maintenance of the kitchen facilities. I think we need to run that out a little bit more, because if somebody goes in there, you really need to have somebody, an experienced person going in there that knows how to work the equipment in the kitchen so they don't damage anything, and also have a deposit. So if they don't keep it clean or things come up missing, the group that was in there needs to pay for that.
All right, I think I'd leave that to the fire chief myself. But
Well, that's right.
I think that's covered under the fees.
Yeah. Well, but you just say fees, so who assesses the fees?
fire chief,
But,
whoever's responsible for that building.
well, that's right, and so you need to put that in here, and it's not in there.
Okay. Anything else?
It's actually the town.
Well, then-
I think it's actually the town, not the fire chief.
Well, yeah, well, okay. Then D, you talk about the chairs, and the tables can't be removed from the community room without I put in fire chief and town administrator, his or her designation approval. That's fine. I mean, there's times where we might need some extra chairs or tables here, or the library, or whatever. So those need to be tracked and then returned. So I don't have a problem with that. Then facility use, you go back to the New Durham Fire Station community room is connected to the New Durham Fire Station. All right, I don't see the purpose of that, but that's fine. Then they have down here the use of the room is for the fire department, emergency management, police department activities. I think you should probably use the word training because that's what it originally is for and is used now for, along with other approved town entities and activities. I don't, once again, okay, fine. Then B, you have the emergency needs of the town shall take precedence over all other use of the community room. All right. Then C, they have down here, after the town safety services priority uses shall be for official meetings of the town boards, commissions, and committees. Okay. And then D is nonprofit organizations from the town of New Durham may request the use of the community room for meetings of the organization. I think that's fine. And then they have requests for usage.
I just want to hear about things you didn't think were fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I was just going to go over some of the things that they had there. The rest of that portion was fine. Then I made a change in B. Skeleton room shall be maintained and managed and maintained by, I put in the fire chief and town administrator, his or her designees. The town calendar, okay, there's no changes I have there. Town board commissions, blah, 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 blah. I took out, and nonprofit organizations, New Durham shall be able to reserve the room without a security deposit. And that, the town boards, commissions, committees, departments, they shouldn't have to put down a security deposit. So that's why I crossed out the part of the nonprofit organizations. They do need to put in a security deposit, and that's for usage, something comes up, damage, or cleaning fees. And then I put down, then I put down to specify the nonprofit organizations may ask for a deposit of use and cleaning fee. So we have that explained that way. Then under 5, I've added again, the fire chief and the town administrator has overmade authority the use of the community room for classes, workshops, blah, blah, blah. And the rest of that is, I guess, is okay. Then B, under 5, I'm not sure where you're going on this. This one reads, at no time shall the community room be used for political, see, this isn't written very well. And then comma, for faction groups against the government, comma, for profit groups, comma, or individuals that charge a fee in excess of the cost of books and materials. I know where they're trying to go with this, but is this a good way to say it? So I have a question mark on that one.
Okay.
So, I quite frankly, I think we need to rework some of this. I wouldn't mind having some input from some individuals on this,
All right.
See their concerns about this. But, so that's where I'm on this. I don't think this is ready to go.
Glenn, you got any comments?
Nope,
All right.
not at this
If you
time.
don't mind, I'll ask from the audience. Is that all right with both of you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine, yeah.
Sue Randall?
A couple things. I'm trying to remember what I heard. I think I heard you say that the fire chief or their designee.
No,
or-
fire chief and town administrator.
Or their
or their
designated
designee.
person can give permission for things like using the tables and the chairs. And my question is, why does the fire department have any say in the town equipment when they've already turned all that over to the town?
Well-
It should only be the town administrator, it seems.
Oh, it's just like, I wouldn't go down, you wouldn't expect someone to go down and take the dump truck, or a highway piece of equipment without the permission of the department head.
I would think that would be Scott's
But he-
venue to then check with the fire department to make sure there's no training or anything, but
That's the key, and that's why I added in the fire chief.
I don't think, personally, The problem we had before was because the fire department was involved. I think you'd be better off to leave it with Scott, and he can check with the fire department about availability of the room or the furniture. And then, do you see what I mean? Because this is how we got into the mess the last time, because they had a say in it. They've now turned it over, it doesn't belong to them.
Well, we didn't have a very good policy when this happened, this episode happened. And it happened because at the last moment, they changed their venue to the community room the same day.
Wow.
And we didn't know,
Right, but-
they didn't know how many people were gonna be there. No one knew what was going on. And quite frankly, part of that problem was Jeremy, our town administrator. He did not,
Don't go there, Greg, don't go there.
Whatever.
well,
Do you
no,
see my
no,
point, though?
no, but
It's
that's my
like-
point.
Like Scott should
One
be
at
the
a time.
clearinghouse, and then he makes contact with the fire department.
I understand.
The problem was, the town administrator was the point person on that, and that's where the mistake happened.
He is right.
The fire chief wasn't involved in that.
That's right. All right, somebody else has
Well-
something? No, he is right. That is how,
No,
that's how it
that's one
went.
opinion.
That's the way it was told to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dot by dot, then we're gonna
Quite
move on.
complete.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I totally agree with your statement. There should be a fee for the kitchen. I would like to put in the stipulation, as someone who has had the occasion on 3 different times to access that kitchen, that the kitchen be turned over to whatever group accesses it or rents it, that it be turned over clean. Historically, and I'm not talking about today, I haven't been in that kitchen today, but historically, that kitchen has been, I'm gonna say disgraceful.
Yeah.
Disgraceful. And before we ask the Girl Scouts to pay a cleaning fee before they have a dinner there, someone needs to make sure the kitchen is clean. I think that needs to be in the policy, that the kitchen will be left clean on a daily basis.
And we need somebody to be able to check it, of course,
Yeah.
and be responsible to see to it that
They
it is.
use it and don't clean it.
And I can't
it's
see the
been
town
going on for
administrator being the one.
years.
Okay.
And can I say one more thing, Dave?
Okay.
In the past, I don't remember if you remember, but I mentioned that we had at one time had a fire auxiliary that I was part of.
Right.
Part of the plan was, especially once we got those tables, which came from Foxy Johnny's, Rod gave them to us, was to like recreate a dinner at Foxy's and all these other things for dinners and activities in that room. But that was all supposed to be done by the fire association, not the fire department, by the fire company.
Right.
And so I didn't hear anything in there. Are they going then to be, if they resurrect themselves, are they gonna be able to use that for those types of things? Or are they limited to training and workshops?
Well,
or-
the fire association is an active group. It's not the fire company anymore, they had to change their name.
Right,
So the fire association. And they sometimes have dinners there for residents and so forth.
but
Her
they're
question
not
is that
part
they
of the
would-
fire department,
Right.
and that's why I'm asking the
She's
question.
concerned whether they're shut out because of the policy. I
No.
would say no.
They're considered a nonprofit, right?
Yes, I would
So
think
they
so.
would have to go through the same procedure that, it's not carte blanche for them
Right.
because they're fire.
Yeah,
They'd have to go through the same procedure as every other group.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
yeah, it's my understanding.
The fire association may be made up of many citizens within the town,
Yeah.
just like the
Yeah.
company
Okay.
was.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I mean, that's the point, we need to work on this, and
Right.
these points that you brought up are noted,
Yeah,
and we're gonna have to put those in this.
yeah.
I just don't think this document's ready to go.
Doesn't sound like it honestly to me.
No.
Yeah.
And,
There's a
and,
lot to think through.
yeah, and quite frankly, once we get it done, I think it'd be nice to send it out, to whatever group wants to look at it and have their input. We can't do this on every policy, but this is a little different. This is the community room, this is part of New Durham. And even though it's, the initial was for the fire department, and that does hold the training and so forth, it's still, the town property
All right.
and so forth.
We're gonna
So,
table
yeah.
that then until
Okay.
we can do some more with it. And Greg, why don't you write out your recommendations for us to review somehow?
Okay,
All right, so we.
and I'm gonna add some of the things that were mentioned tonight, and I'll rework it.
And we'll make that available to anybody that wants to.
Okay. Or,
See it.
may I make a suggestion? If any of you have any ideas of what you heard, or if you want a copy of this, get with Scott,
Okay.
and then send it to Scott, so Scott can work this in. Because if I forget something that you've mentioned, or you think of something else,
Yeah,
you know, so just send it to Scott, and Scott can start working this up for us also.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, now we get the other one, is citizen complaints regarding the performance
Thank
of
you.
a town employee. So how do we stand on that? Anyone got any things to
Well,
say about it?
Actually, I made my changes, and it looks like they're all here, and Scott put in handwriting some of the final changes. I think one was Swin's, where we changed group to entity, which I thought was a good idea. This would be 6, and at the end of the first paragraph, he has something non-public session. What is that?
During.
During, okay. So, and I thought we all agreed that that's fine. And then on 7, at the last part of that sentence, disciplinary hearing will be
In
Yeah,
non-public session.
I'll let you read it then.
Yeah, it's in non-public session, unless the employee petitions for it to be heard in public session.
Yeah. And those, I think, were the only changes that were made the last time we did this. So if somebody else has changes, let's hear it.
I don't. You, Swens?
I don't have any changes right now, but
So should we have this typed up in completion and have it brought back at the next meeting? And make it also available, make sure people know it'll be available, what, in a few days or something like that. So I think you can look at good.
Yeah.
That way, Sherwood Clayton can look at it, whoever else might want to. Give them a chance to comment on it. I don't know. Trying to think if there's an easy way for you to put things up. You know, the planning board has on their website, they just put a document up so you can see what they're working on. Do you have anything like
You can do
that?
the same thing.
And
Huh?
put draft
You can do
on
the
it.
same thing, right on the Board of Selectmen's.
Yeah.
Page.
And then put the word draft on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
people can look at it and say, hey, I think you want to change this or whatever. Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay.
We'll move on to that. Move along.
Okay, so
Citizen.
Can I just back up just make one quick comment? Relative to the community room policy is, it started out being extrapolated from the fire department policy. So I thought that it was imperative that there should be something put together that may be eventually grown into something else. But the idea was to get something down in writing relative to, as I call it, the first step of putting it in process. So trying to make some steps forward. It's always difficult when you operate with, you have to be careful because they're not a volunteer group anymore, they're an on-call fire department type of thing there. So there's been a transition from the volunteer, the old day of fire companies and fire auxiliaries. It became it's very, very territorial. And you talk about when you take comp time away from the highway guys and they get upset, and next thing you know, you take tables and chairs away, or you take a kitchen away from the fire department, it becomes that of the next contentious item. So working into it and doing small steps, working towards an ultimate goal in the future is what I was striving for. Versus doing the whole caveat at once and then throwing it on them and saying, hey, guess what? Empty out your kitchen, empty out everything else, pack your bags, we're moving in. You know, so that was my process, was going into it easy. But however you guys want to handle that, that's your decision to do that.
No, I
So
think
just
that's
so you know,
I think that's
I
good.
broke it, I started some discussions to try to make that happen and easing into it in that process. And I think it still needs some more, because I think there's, the kitchen is the next big nugget there. I think it's a nice thing to have along with it. But if at least we can get the community room and its use and its chairs and its contents nailed down first, then it could be expanded upon later on. That's all my thought process is. And I know this has gone on a long time, and we got other things, as well to work on too. So I just, maybe I'm thinking of trying to do the simple things first, I say the simple piece of it, and then then it can be grown upon
Right.
as we go forward. But I just throw that out, that's just my own, Scott Kinman, who's been a volunteer, who's, been on that side of the fence as well. And I also was a commissioner, and then, I had some of those hard discussions with the volunteers when you make those decisions of policy. So just throw that out, and we don't, I just wanna throw that out to you.
Just to take it a little step beyond, I am concerned that the kitchen is even left unlocked. To me, it should only be opened up for the group that's got approval to use the kitchen, and I'm not even sure if it's, allowed to take
It
that
is
far.
finished. It is finished. The firefighters use it for when they're there.
Yeah, but, oh,
And they're the ones that leave it a mess, that always have anyway.
well, I'm concerned that people are even getting in there, in between.
Well, it should be locked all the, well, the building's locked all the time. That should be locked all the
I
time
think the
until
kitchen
somebody's
should be locked.
signed off on.
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah. I mean, once we make this policy, if somebody's gonna use that kitchen and they're approved, they're gonna have to sign, somebody's gonna have to put their name to this.
Yeah.
So if something happens, they're held liable for
There
it.
shouldn't be people
Well,
wandering in and out.
There's a liability problem here that we've gotta be careful of.
If you have a say you have 2 firefighters that are on duty during the day there, they're in the building. That's where they go for their meals, that's where they keep their food. They're the ones that use it on a daily basis, and at least when we were involved with it, that's where the mess was coming from. They didn't really clean up after themselves. So, I mean, if you're gonna lock it, you're shutting those people out.
No,
No, they would have a key to that. We're talking about groups that,
yeah.
Well.
other
yeah.
than the firefighters.
You have an avenue with your fees and your deposits with them. It's the firefighters in between that are accessing it, that are leaving it a mess. At least that's, in the past, that's who was doing it.
Okay,
So,
well,
you have, if I can continue her thought, when you have people using it that are not directly town related, planning board's not using it, I'm not talking those kind of uses. If some other group comes in,
Yeah.
then Scott or his designee has to go in there before that group arrives and verify that everything's in order.
Right.
And if it's not, then that person's gotta figure out who made the mess and clean it up now.
There's a lot to it, we found.
Yeah.
Right.
Even before the auxiliary held any
Yeah,
kind
we used
of
to
a-
run
You're
into
like it's like
Yeah.
renting a house for a week. You
Yeah.
gotta check
Choose
the
to
person
run in.
in, check them out, and make sure it's clean.
Yeah,
Well, what I did when I had my apartments, that's exactly what I did. Before when the tenants moved in, I had a checklist, and they went through the checklist, how they found their apartment.
Right.
Now, I would usually go ahead of them and do a checklist myself, but they themselves then know how they found
right.
the apartment, and in this case, the kitchen. And if there's something in there that is broken or something like that, that's marked down before they walk in the door, so they're not held responsible for it. So like I said, this policy is far from being finished.
Well, but it's a hard thing to
Yeah.
regulate.
And we're gonna have to check with our insurance company to see if we're allowed to bring in,
Other people.
that's right.
The only thing in the kitchen, David, that is not done is there needs to be a hood over the stove.
yeah.
But other than that, as far as I think
But
everything
that's-
else is done. We put a lot of work into that place.
That's a significant,
It is, and we were hoping to,
that may
Fundraise.
not be a public kitchen then.
he had gotten an estimate for one, somebody in Summersworth was gonna do it for, was it $4,000? We were,
Exhausting.
it was gonna be built because of the
You
rate,
looked
size
at
of the
used
range.
kitchen,
We couldn't
warehouse
find
places and
one.
stuff?
Yeah, we couldn't find one, but that's the only thing that's missing is the outside vent for
Yeah.
the stove.
Okay,
At least it was.
we'll
I was in
move on from
Okay.
here though, and, we get minutes, but you said you had something you
Mhm.
need to talk about?
I had said that after, when we finalized the lawsuit in the Bernier case, that I would sit down and explain what my decisions and how I made the decisions. So I'm going to read that. I'll wait till people leave, I guess. So, as a selectman of New Durham, I can now explain the circumstances concerning the removal and reinstatement of the New Durham Police Chief, Sean Bernier. Early on in this process, all involved parties were told by their attorneys not to discuss this matter publicly or privately, including on social media such as Facebook. I and the other two selectmen honored that request, but during this time, others involved used Facebook, Board of Selectmen meetings, and the Baysider newspaper to reveal the non-public negotiations. They also targeted and disparaged Selectman Bifford and me and our families. Most of the information that was revealed was inaccurate, and because the selectmen hands were tied, we could not correct this misinformation. This publicly put the town of New Durham in a bad light. What started this was Police Chief Bernier coming to me and the other selectmen wanting to retire. He agreed to retire with the severance package and leave as New Durham Police Chief in July of 2015. However, he kept changing the date, leaving the Board of Selectmen uncertain about when or if he would leave. My past experience with employees has shown me that when an employee tells you that they want to leave or retire, you should take them at their word. So the Board of Selectmen and the town attorney looked at the police chief's contract. In that contract, there were two separate ways to remove the police chief. One for just cause, and one for reasons other than just cause. Because the town attorney recommended strongly and stated this was legal, we removed Chief Bernier for reasons other than just cause. But the judge found that portion of the contract was unenforceable. Upon learning of this ruling, in good faith, we immediately contacted our town attorney, the finance officer, the town administrator, and Mr. Bernier's attorney to work out details of reinstating Mr. Bernier as police chief. So Police Chief Bernier was promptly reinstated and returned to work. The cost of this was covered by the police department's budget and the legal services budget. In fact, the police department expenses are under budget this year. However, there was a portion of Chief Bernier's lawsuit that was still outstanding. I feel that Chief Bernier and his attorney should have shown good faith and dropped that part of the lawsuit, but they did not, and negotiations continued. These negotiations were led by the town's insurance company's attorneys. They worked out an agreement with Police Chief Bernier's attorneys, sent the agreement to be signed by Police Chief Bernier, and a check immediately followed. However, the Board of Selectmen had not seen this agreement prior to this happening, and when we finally saw the agreement, we did not agree with some provisions of the agreement. I objected to taking away our First Amendment rights of free speech and our rights to govern as elected officials. Rather than negotiate and understand the Board of Selectmen's position on that, Police Chief Bernier and his attorneys sued for breach of agreement, demanding more money. How can there be a breach of agreement when it had not been signed by any of the Board of Selectmen? We finally negotiated a settlement by removing the provisions that would have stripped our rights of free speech and our rights to govern as elected officials. Plus, the decision to settle this case for the amount of money and the payments were made by the town's liability insurance carrier. You could say that bad legal advice from the town attorney led to this. You could say the majority of the Board of Selectmen voting to follow the police chief's contract led to this. But actually what started all this was Police Chief Bernier's coming to us, asking to retire and agreeing to leave. During this entire time, the police department continued to function and the residents were kept safe. I now hope that we can move on and continue making New Durham a great place to live.
All right. Well, now we go to minutes.
Do you have a copy of that, Greg?
I do.
Okay, first. Oh. First set of minutes is September 21st. And we have,
You have some new ones.
We have new ones?
Well, we just have, Swansea track changes on there.
I don't think it's in the.
it was projected. Who made the projection?
Where are you?
Second page of your stuff. You had something you added. Do we have a who on that, on the, it's projected?
That was,
Was
I
that-
think Kevin Rule, I recall.
Well, I'm thinking is, how strong is that? Is that a suggestion, or is that a strong?
No, the question was asked, how long do you anticipate this to last? And it was 10 to 15 years was the answer.
Okay. But you think Kevin, administrator, along with the RFP, there was discussion on warranty options and use of mutual aid. Does that sound like Kevin, or is that, you think that was you? That,
I think that I made reference to the 10 years, and that was only based upon what the fire chief had told me, was that they generally figure 10 years, after 10 years, that
Right. So I don't know what this 10 to 15 is.
That was definitely said by Kevin.
All right,
I
but
don't know if
if
it was
it was
Kevin
Kevin.
or a combination, but it was definitely
I'm just
said.
saying,
yeah, I mean,
we really want
some ambulance.
to, if the giant fire chief said that, then that's what we really need to
Yeah,
put in the
We can-
minutes.
we can put that in.
This
It wa, okay.
Deputy fire chief rule. That
Either
was-
that or put in what you had said. Do you remember what you said? Or did you
I know
say-
I made reference to 10 years,
All right, I'd rather write.
only
reference.
because what the fire chief had told me.
All right, then that's what we need to reference.
Kevin could have said 10 to
It
15.
may have been his mind, but it's the chief
I don't remember.
is the
Kevin
one we
saying-
want. Because you're the one that made the presentation. So.
I would say a
Estimated
facility.
10 to 15 year life cycle.
By Kevin?
That was in my notes right here. I think it was a combination of Kevin and Scott.
I remember,
I
I remember 10. I don't remember.
We can put it- we can
Check
put
the
it-
tape, guys.
They may go up.
Check the tape.
Chief, how about we put Deputy Chief Rule and T.A. Kinman?
No, not an and, because you said 10 years, right?
I thought I said 10 years. but I
Okay,
had
so
lost the
just-
date.
Rule of thought, it might go as far as 15 years, and Kinman said he understood 10 years.
So,
Well, I don't remember that 15. I'm sorry, I don't.
Check the tape.
Okay, I will.
I just want to reflect
Yeah.
what,
Was that video?
yeah.
Okay. That'll give me time to look at it then. And I remember Swin saying, was there balance left, and who has, he was determining a fee adjustment that might be needed in the future. Well, that's done by that company that puts the money aside for this. And I'm not sure if you knew that or you didn't understand it or what.
Well, I didn't hear you, sorry. What did you say?
You were talking about, this would be A, there was a balance left in the fund after 2006
Yep.
purchase of the vehicle, or was there with a question mark?
Mhm.
If so, what was the balance? This information will be used to determine any fee adjustment that might be needed to make in the future. Commence authority to expend, i.e. confirm the Board of Selectmen has the authority. Commence specifically developed for the new vehicle versus those specifications of current vehicle. This should include capabilities, equipment, etc. Develop vendor lists and have the minimum of 3 vendors bidding.
So what was your question?
Well, no, you excluded what you had said, so that's fine.
So, okay.
Well, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the tape, I guess.
I'm okay with just that change I made, about, that Kim had
Yeah.
said one thing and Rule said another.
Right, I got Deputy Chief Rule.
Well, it wasn't one thing or the other. What was said was that it was at least 10 years, and I believe it was Kevin Rule that mentioned that it could even be up to 15.
Oh, well,
That's what it says. Projected for the new vehicle is 10 to 15 years. Amazing what that means the same thing.
But who projected that?
I just told you.
No, who's made that statement?
Kevin Rule. He said, right?
It was a combination of information.
Oh.
We just said, Scott claimed he made the statement it was 10 years. And I'm saying that in addition to that, there was additional information, and I believe it was Kevin, that said it could be up to 15 years, and I didn't hear any objection from Scott on that issue.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
So, I mean,
Kevin.
these guys.
Huh?
I'm not gonna argue with Kevin.
This is kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you.
I seen those ambulances go 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, they keep for backup.
Well, in government, when somebody makes a projection, if they often get it, it becomes a millstone. And if it's like, well, Scott Kimmon told us it was 15 years, I'm a little concerned about that.
Now what the statement says, it says 10 to 15 years.
Well, I know how these things are
Well, that's my concern too.
are extrapolated.
Come on,
If you say,
guys.
if you
Man, oh, man,
say, if you say 10 to
unbelievable.
15 and this thing,
Unbelievable.
if this thing needs to be replaced, we know it needs to be replaced. That leaves you doubt that there isn't that it should be extended for another 5 years, so let's.
None of us are gonna be here in 10, 15 years doing this.
No,
Well, speak for yourself.
I'm not gonna be here fighting for the new ambulance they're gonna buy in 10 to 15
No,
years.
I don't care. If you're okay with the way it is, then I'm okay.
I'm fine the way it was written,
Okay,
10 to 15 years.
let's do it then.
oh, wait a minute, but who said that?
Well,
Kind of
It's
irrelevant.
not a transcription of what was said.
Kind of irrelevant.
It's just, it's a reference to what was said.
well, there's only two people there giving information to us, so that means it's a combination of Scott and Kevin Rule. It becomes that.
See, and it would have, may have, would be a better term there. Rather than would, it should be may. Because there's ambulances that don't even last 10 years.
That does fit in the 10 to 15. Amazing how that works.
Well, 10 to 15 is different than if it goes out in 8 years.
Yeah, that's true. 8's not 10. That's true.
And that's my point.
But that's not what was said.
All right, we can, I don't mind letting go of it and voting on it.
Well, if you take out would and put may, then I'll go along with it.
Yeah. He says minutes, okay. Let's try and do that then.
Or is expected.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't know
Is
that.
So you're doing the writing down, yeah?
It is expected to have a life cycle of 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. that's
But we
fine.
don't know that.
You don't
No,
know
there's an
that. You don't
expectation.
know any of this.
Expectation.
Well, that's why I
The
say-
thing could blow up in a year.
Right, so that's why I say if you put the word may, that clarifies it.
Well, no, actually, I like
I don't
it.
know, may and shall are always two more definitive answers than would, I would think.
Well,
I don't know.
would, we know that's not accurate.
Well, I think,
We
I
don't know
like,
that that's not accurate, but shall would not be appropriate, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's why I said may.
I like the,
No,
is
shall.
expected. That he suggested. It's an expectation.
Yeah, but then if it doesn't, then you say, well, why is that? Did these gentlemen do something wrong?
Didn't meet expectations.
Well, yeah, but, you know,
All right, you want May still, huh?
I think May's fine.
All right,
Additionally, it was projected that the new ambulance may have a life cycle of 10 to 15 years.
all right. May sounds good to me.
Okay.
So, I will make a motion to approve the minutes of September 21st, 2016, these are public minutes, as amended. And I assume you get those amendments, Scott?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. First and seconded by Swain. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Don't you say no now.
No, I said aye. Okay, now the 19th,
You'll have something new in the house.
the 19th, we need to, we're gonna have to come back to that. Because this isn't even close to what was said on the video.
I've already got that taken care of.
Well, we'll see.
Have you ever known me before?
Yeah. as a matter of fact.
Give me a friend.
Just once.
Give me
I only
once.
can remember in the last.
Just give me one.
We got it on video.
Last 10
We have it
months,
on
I've only
video.
seen
Once.
one
Okay.
real debate.
There is one, it's on video.
The
You're
3-month
right.
debate.
Wasn't, well, both of us were incorrect.
Oh, my God.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the
Hey,
one.
both.
We were both
It
wrong.
so stands out that it's, you remember the ones.
Well, it's the recent one that I thought was
It's
interesting.
the only one.
Oh, my gosh, all this here to go through?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
Yeah.
go back to
We're
this.
gonna come back to this. All right?
Okay, so this is.
Because I assume you want to go to non-public tonight. Or do we have non-public stuff?
Yeah, we got some minutes in, I do have, yeah, I have it. So these
How
are
about the-
tabled.
September 7th?
7th. We've all got
Something on
that.
that too.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a chance to read those.
Wait a minute. What is the 21st? Oh, here's the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this is changes for the 7th?
And you got my note from before, right, about what Dot, and it may have been covered, I just didn't read it.
Well, I thought it was put in here.
Dot said, concern that.
I did, yeah. I didn't know she had that. I'd put already in one of my changes, I'd put that in.
Oh, you did, okay,
Yeah.
so you got it covered.
I don't, yeah, but I didn't know she had said it. I did it, that's what happened. I didn't
And
do
she-
it because I knew what she said. I just saw that when it was in the packet. I said, I already did that when I did it.
No, this one, I've got several changes on this one. So we're gonna have to put this one out. It'll give us a chance to.
You might want to use my changes instead of your base.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at it.
So you say you got quite a bit more?
Yeah.
No, what?
Yep. So let's hold off on the
Well, you
7th.
don't know how many more you'd have after.
We're gonna meet on minutes.
Well, we might.
All right, now the ones that just given to me, 10,
Well, now we have April 28th,
12, 16.
and I haven't had a chance to look at that one. Oh, wait, we're gonna go non-public here very shortly.
There's not many. And how I found these was, I was looking for, backup minutes for transfer of trust funds information, and stumbled across it. We had never approved these.
Yeah.
Pretty minor.
What are we looking at now, the 28th?
Yep,
Yeah.
on page,
Was this, let's see, Board of Selectmen, New Durham Fire Community Review. God, this is old.
I got on page 2, I've got under abatements,
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down, third line up,
Yep.
on the paragraph. It was noted abatement request must be submitted by the end
Yeah.
rather than and.
And, okay, yeah.
That's all I got on that page. On page 3, I have solid waste facility compactor bids. Town Administrator Kinman stated bids were solicited and recommended. I think that'd be a period there. And start new sentence.
I gotta just, okay, recommended, and then Joe.
Or was it Joe by, or was it recommended by Joe Bosky?
Oh, yeah,
Could be recommended by Joe Bosco, Blosky.
yeah, it should be by.
Reviewed and reviewed, it could be and reviewed, to ensure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How about and reviewed
Yeah.
by?
So
Really?
recommended by Joe Blosky, solid waste foreman, and reviewed to ensure the bids meet the
Oh, okay.
specifications.
Put an and in front of review, and that'll take care
Yeah,
of that.
reviewed, ED, and put an and in front of the reviewed.
Now, did you talk with Joe on these bids, or was that, did they come back to you through the DP director?
They went through Gingrich.
Okay, so he's the one that's, okay, we're
In
solicited
April?
and recommended by.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
I don't think so.
No, this was
In
the
April.
bidding process.
Yeah.
This before Mike came.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when you're.
So we were
referring back
putting the
to. Okay,
packages
this was-
together.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, good. So that's fine then. Now come down to, the bottom of the page, just above future meetings. And you see BSMI,
Yeah,
I think that should be budget.
budget layout.
And then after.
Well, actually, it was, it may have
It
been
was
budget, but it was the BSMI layout.
Well, BSMI comes up after import, I think.
Well, and how they import to, no, it was the BMSI layout, and then how it was imported to actually exported, really is what it.
Yeah, it should be exported.
Yeah,
Okay.
exported to Excel.
Showing the budget layout.
Sorry, I think I hit you.
Yeah. And how they, I thought import BSMI into the Excel.
Yeah, it was the BSMI layout, and how it was exported to an Excel spreadsheet. That's really what it was.
Import, export, just by which side of the coast you're on. So,
I don't know what the question marks on the future meeting was. but-
Meeting with Gary Thornton.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, because that's what, I found that out, because I was going back through these minutes, and that
Yeah.
was the next one. We met with him on the wage and benefit.
Okay.
that's all I've got.
So just add Gary Thornton then, I think, instead of the question mark.
I'm gonna have to look at this one, because some of this in the first paragraph, I remember this is the one I talked too much on. But, you know, I did clarify some things. It doesn't look like it was,
I didn't change much of what was in that first paragraph. I just
yeah,
did
well,
some punctuation and correct, and redundant correction, but that's
yeah.
about it.
I don't know what this means. Selectman Anthony stated the Board of Selectmen is voted in.
I don't know, where are you?
To run, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
run
1,
the
2,
town.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Yeah.
8 lines up.
It is because board is a singular.
The Selectman Anthony stated the Board of Selectmen is voted in. Are voted in. Why is it is and not are?
Because it's singular board. The board is the subject.
Well, if I put members of the board, then it would have been fine. So we could put members there.
No.
Before the
It's
Board of
perfectly
Selectmen.
fine the way it is.
Well, you think it is. Is voted in to run the town. Run the town, and the Board of Selectmen meetings is their meetings, and they invite the public. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that. Let me look at this one. So let's put hold on this one.
Okay.
Did I get these before anybody else, Scott? I'm just curious. I didn't think so. All right.
Well, you're certainly not saying that you've never held a Board of Selectmen meeting.
I'm just
minutes.
saying that I didn't get these before anybody else.
So what do you say?
Just that.
Okay. God love you.
So you want to wait on this?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Not doing too good here. Okay, 12.
Well,
I'm done.
Me too.
All right.
Oh, here's the 21st again.
29th,
Now-
29th we just got today. I do not have anything on that yet. That one we would have to postpone.
Here's, I emailed them, but here's a copy if people want hard copies. I just made hard copies of what we actually did. What I actually,
I haven't done anything with those, so.
Wait, is this more August 29th we haven't done either?
Yeah, we just got that about, what, 4 o'clock this afternoon or something?
yeah, I sent notes after.
Okay, I haven't seen this one at all. So we'll hold off on that one. This is August 29th.
All right.
Okay, so then we're at,
So the only ones we approved were the 21st.
the 21st. The others, I've got things going on tomorrow and the next day. Let's see, and over the weekend, we gotta work on budgeting. I'll work on these. We have a meeting on Monday at 1.
Yeah, we're gonna need to clean these up on Monday. I gotta get them off the docket.
Okay.
Cause then you're gonna end up having 3 sets of meetings.
No.
Cause you're gonna have budget.
No, I actually looked at the one and I saw this isn't even close. So I had things
Yeah,
to do
I
with
just
this.
wanna,
Yeah, I'll work on these.
what happens is that if I miss them, and
No.
it's easy to have them fall, one of them fall through the crack.
Yeah,
I
which
Don't get my
is fine,
files
yeah.
exactly right. Okay,
Oh, so this one's gonna be non-public, right?
yes.
Okay.
All right. We're done?
Organized here. If anybody wants to make a motion for non-public, go forward.
Let's
Well,
see,
I
so we
ordered-
have A, B,
Well, I
wait a
ordered-
minute, isn't E attorney matters?
E is litigation.
Is there anything we wanna talk about in litigation?
Not that I know. I mean, I could tell you about another, but it's ongoing.
Okay, so let's do E. A, B, C, E.
I forget all about it, too much of it.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here. Okay, so I am going to make a motion that we go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, comma, Roman numeral 2, A, B, C, and E.
We have a second?
Swins is gonna second it, you're gonna have to.
I don't know that we
No, you
need,
won't. You won't.
Why B?
I don't know, you don't need B,
I don't know why you need B.
so that should be stricken.
What's B?
Hiring. Because I can ask you in public who you want to sit on the review panel for the
Yeah.
clerk's job.
Yeah,
Because,
that's a public discussion.
yeah.
Okay,
And if you're all agreed, if you're all, want, I can, when I get to that point, I can just ask who's available.
Well, that motion dies for lack of a second.
okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, comma, Roman numeral 2, A, C, and E.
All right, anybody want to second that?
I'm only aware of the one thing that we have for that sick wage issue. Right?
Now, you mentioned you had something on E.
And what's under A?
A is compensation, that's
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
that's
okay.
what you have.
A and E? Is that what you
I
said, Rick?
suppose C could be involved in there too. Okay,
Yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, by roll call. Anthony's,
Anthony's aye.
Bickford, aye,
Swenson, aye.
all unanimous.
What's
10 to
that?
29.